7-5, The Fanatic. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas. This is Kincade and Salciunas. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Well, we're all excited for the Eagles season. We all think the roster's great. Obviously, there's still some questions defensively. But the guy that we still have our biggest concerns with is the head coach. And relationship has been a big thing that we've been looking at between coach and quarterback. Do you believe it matters? We're going to get into that discussion today. The ceiling of Jalen Hurts. Phil's back tonight. And a whole lot more. Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
This is Kincade and Salciunas.
Stars in cities, especially like Philadelphia, they are always on the map. And we should expect more winning out of them.
And we'll go to the Eagles and Jalen Hurts. I am a believer that your best player, I think there is also a responsibility as the team spokesperson.
Kincade and Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Tuesday morning, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salciunas alongside my man John Kincade. Johnny, good morning.
Can't get over the sunshine this morning before 6 a.m.
At first I thought it was just you when I walked into the building, but no, it was the sun behind you.
It was wild.
Yeah, it was, dude. It's actually it's beautiful outside.
It is beautiful.
We're in a great time right now, weather-wise in the Philadelphia area. So enjoy yourselves today. But now it's time to talk some Eagles football. Shockingly, but it is time to talk about relationships and whether or not it matters. You've heard, how many times, John, have you heard, the players don't have to like each other, or the player and coach doesn't have to like each other. I think we've heard that a million times. We heard that about James Harden and Doc Rivers, right? Like, they didn't have to really like each other, but hey, they're one win away from going to the Eastern Conference Finals. And I don't know how much, I don't think they have to be best friends.
I don't believe it, by the way.
What?
I don't believe that premise.
You believe it does matter?
I believe chemistry does matter. I've never seen anything that's had success long term where there wasn't a basis of just people getting along.
Okay. And
if they don't get along, they, again, don't have to, like, you're right about it. Like, they don't have to be best friends.
Yeah, they don't have to go out and get beers after every single game or drink coffee in the morning.
But if people aren't getting along, there's a problem.
Like, what we see with this Phillies team is totally out of the norm, I would think. Right? Like, where it seems like everybody likes each other. Like, when do you see a team like that where everybody is rocking with each other? And this is year 3 of it, right? So it's not like this is a new group of guys and the honeymoon phase. No, this is year 3 of this group of guys, at least this core. I know other players have been added as the years have gone on, but it's been the same core for 3 years, and it still seems like everybody freaking loves each other in that locker room. That's out of the norm.
I think the baseball is where it's most important. Because 162 games, you spend around 195, 200 some days a year together.
Yeah.
A lot of time. And that clubhouse is very, very different. And if people aren't getting along, if they're not jiving, it's going to be bad.
Right, it will be.
More than the other sports. Like in a football locker room is very segmented. Like the defensive side tends to be one. It almost as if you have like 2 separate locker rooms.
Right.
Sometimes 3. A baseball clubhouse, you better get along.
It's a collective unit.
You better get along.
Right, absolutely. And there's less players, whereas a football team's 53-man roster plus your practice squad players and then all the coaches and all the trainers. There's a million people in that locker room.
I don't have much experience with NBA locker rooms, but I would imagine that it is something that is a challenge if they're not.
I think
people aren't getting along.
I've been in that Sixers locker room at the Wells Fargo Center. It's very small.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's very small, and then you have 7'2" bodies walking around. Like, it is a very tight locker room, so I imagine that you have to be a tight-knit group because there's not really much room to escape.
You can't get away from
Right,
people.
Exactly. Everybody's basically on top of each other. So, the reason why we're having this conversation, yesterday, we'll play it again here. Yesterday, we played this clip that we admittedly missed. It was during last week's press conference for Jalen Hurts during mandatory minicamp, and he was asked about Nick Sirianni. I know John wasn't really a fan of the question, but take a listen, question, answer. Here was Jalen Hurts, really his first opportunity of the 2024 season, even though it's unofficial, right? The season hasn't really started, but mandatory minicamp. This was his first chance in 2024, new league year, to sort of throw a bone toward his head coach, and this was his answer.
What have you noticed about Nick being open-minded to change up the offense like he has. I mean, what does that say about him?
I mean, it's a great question. I don't know that I know the answer to it.
Well, what have you seen? What have you seen from him as far as doing that?
I think he's just, he's been great, and the messages he's delivering to the team. He's trying to be very intentional in what he's saying, and yeah.
Well, not really a ringing endorsement.
Well, the ums. the ums have really got to stop.
Pregnant pauses. Like, there was nothing. Like, he couldn't even think of something nice to say about Nick Sirianni. And we had a texter yesterday that said, I think if the season starts off poorly, people are going to start turning on Jalen Hurts. Like, baloney. The first person that people are going to turn on, and a lot of people have already turned on him, is Nick Sirianni, right? Like, Nick Sirianni will be, I don't want to use the term scapegoat, because if it goes poorly, then it is.
Then it would be partly on him.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. But people will turn on Nick Sirianni before they turn on Jalen Hurts. And so here's my question for you guys to start the show. And you can text in, you can call in 610-632-0975. But I want to get your answer, John. Does it necessarily matter? Do you believe head coach, quarterback relationship matters? Forget all the other sports. We will discuss all the other sports in terms of relationship. But head coach, quarterback, and in this specific instance, because Kellen Moore is running this offense, right? Nick Sirianni is not running the offense. It is Kellen Moore's offense. So Jalen Hurts will probably be communicating with Kellen Moore more than Nick Sirianni. He'll be communicating with the quarterback's coach more than Nick Sirianni, as he did with Brian Johnson 2 years ago before he made the jump up to OC. I don't think Hurts and Sirianni necessarily need to have the same hand-in-hand relationship that they had when they first came into the league together. Hurts year one as a starter, Nick Sirianni year one as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. But it's still the head coach. It's still the franchise quarterback. It's still the guys that you see the most on a weekly basis. Sirianni with his 4 press conferences during the week, right? Monday, Wednesday, Friday, post-game. Jalen Hurts, he will speak post-game once in the middle of the week, sometimes the second time. Sometimes he talks 3 times in the middle of the week. It's those 2 guys. They are the faces of the Philadelphia Eagles. Do you think it matters that their relationship is nurtured, as Jeff McClain has pointed out that it needs to be?
Well, I guarantee you that it needs to. Well, I guarantee you that it needs to be nurtured, because every time that I hear Jalen Hurts speak, it needs to be nurtured, because he purposefully goes out of his way to not to me show grace or kindness to Nick Sirianni, and I think that is a problem, and I think that reflects far more on, to me, Jalen Hurts than it does Nick Sirianni. Because of the fact...
What if he has nothing nice to say? Why should he show grace?
Because there is, first of all, what I have seen is multiple times when Nick Sirianni has fallen on the sword publicly for Jalen Hurts because he refused to stand up and take responsibility for his own actions.
Okay.
So to me, he owes him grace.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
That's a give and take. They don't have to like each other. But Nick Sirianni shows him the ultimate respect and stands up after an NFL game that Jalen Hurts blew for his teammates and A.J. Brown going rogue, and he takes the bullet for it publicly. From that point on, I would expect the very least that Jalen Hurts could do is give me some bullcrap answer.
Right.
To at least just do the same for Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni did it for you. Do it for him.
And that's why yesterday I kept on saying the worst part of that answer is the fact that there isn't an answer.
And to me, it's the chuckle.
Well, yeah, the chuckle.
The chuckle is sort of the
but
ums.
Collectively, in that, 36 seconds, however long that clip was, he didn't say anything. And to me, that was a pretty telling thing.
Well, the ums is any part of any Jalen Hurts answer. Way too much. The ums have got to stop. But it's the idea of just be purposeful with what you say. And to me, I agree with you. People are going to turn on Nick Sirianni before they turn on Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jalen Hurts has been treated in this town with very much kid gloves. He is for whatever reason, we now treat quarterbacks and hold them to a different standard, and it's like it's you can't be too critical. I still think last year was a pretty good year. I'm not on the bandwagon of bash Jalen Hurts.
No, of course
even
not.
for his performance last year.
It needs to be better.
But it needs to be better, and he also needs to be self-aware.
Yeah.
And part of being self-aware is be a good teammate, be a good coach-player relationship. I'm not worried about Nick Sirianni being good in that. I'm worried about Jalen Hurts being good in that.
Connor, I want to ask you, does it concern you going into a season that it still seems like, again, we are basing this strictly off of a press conference during mandatory minicamp, but that's all we got, right? And we'll speak to Jeff McClain today, 2 hours from now, 8:10. So maybe Jeff McClain can give us some more insight on this relationship, whether or not it has been nurtured, right? He's inside the locker room. He's talking to people on the record, off the record, on a daily basis. So maybe we'll get an idea if it is getting better. Is it getting worse? Is it more the same? But I know we're basing this strictly off of an answer or lack thereof in a press conference. Does it concern you, Connor, with all the excitement we have with this Eagles offense, the Ferrari, Kellen Moore, right? Yeah, there's concerns with the defense, but we'll ignore that because we think this offense can score 30 points a game, if not more. But if the head coach and quarterback still have a relationship issue, does that concern you going into a season?
It doesn't.
It's so holly-jolly. I love it.
No, it's not about that. I don't really think Nick Sirianni matters as much in the grand universe of this year's Eagles team. Like, his relationship with Jalen Hurts, if he was the play caller, that's a totally different situation. To me, Kellen Moore is the head coach of the offense.
Okay, I'm going to just pause you for a second. He wasn't the play caller last year.
Well, he was half and half. He should have been.
He should have been, but he was not. And clearly their relationship was not really good last year either.
And part of that might have been, yo, dude, we need help. And he can't give them help.
Okay.
So
Could be.
I just look at it and I say, how much does Nick Sirianni matter to this team? That might be simplifying it a little bit, but that's how I feel.
It's not simplifying. I totally get what you're saying. I will say this, though. He will matter if they start struggling.
Well, you can go back to other relationships. It's clear that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick were not tight.
Contentious.
Right. We're not tight. I don't know how contentious as much as just Brady was going to do his own.
Right.
Brady was going to do his own thing, and Brady got into it with offensive coordinators on the sideline. Fights, very temperamental guy, feisty and everything like that. I don't think it caused any problems there. It's just a matter of, I think that Nick Sirianni's sort of twisting in the wind right now.
Okay.
Whereas Bill Belichick didn't give a damn what he could fight with Tom Brady. Tom Brady could fight with him, and as long as they won, it mattered. This organization is not those Patriots.
No, it's not.
This has to,
and that's hard to replicate.
Exactly. This has
very hard to replicate.
But you're willing to put up with crap if it works.
Right. Absolutely.
If it works, I can tell you this is How about this? There are very successful network radio shows where partners didn't get along.
Well, yeah,
on networks.
Look, we could just say Mike and Mike. That was very public.
Very public, very contentious, but the show worked.
Right.
And so it got together. There's ways to pull it off. It's not what you want to do, though.
No, of course not.
It's not what you want.
Right.
And
you'd rather have a mutual respect for the person that you're with.
And for Eagles fans, I got to tell you, unlike Connor, I am concerned about it.
So
I am concerned.
We would love to hear from you. That's question number one to start the show. You can climb in on the phone line, text line, 610-632-0975. Do you believe, part one, it's 1A, 1B. Do you believe the relationship between Hurts and Sirianni really does matter? And if you believe that it does, how concerned are you going into this season that it still seems like, based off of lack of an answer, that it doesn't seem like it's better?
But remember, though, there were the two press conferences, not two press conferences. Well, there was one press conference, one meeting at his locker with Jeff McClain.
Right.
Where Jalen Hurts, this is the third time that Jalen Hurts has dissed his head coach.
Right.
To whatever degree you consider it a diss.
Right.
This is the third time. This isn't the first. And he had all off season to think about how he would make sure that didn't happen again.
This was really his first time of the 2024-25 season.
Right. And he doesn't give a flip.
It doesn't seem like it.
And it does concern me because, to me, and again, I love Jalen Hurts' quarterback, and I'm glad he's our quarterback. But this tells me it reflects much more on Jalen Hurts' leadership, character, everything, than it does Nick Sirianni.
Now,
to me.
Speaking of Jalen Hurts, our second topic that we're going to get into today is the ceiling conversation. So I mentioned that we had the text yesterday.
I hate the drop ceiling in here.
Yeah,
I don't like drop ceilings.
It needs work. Yesterday we had the text that brought up people will start to turn on Jalen Hurts, and I don't believe that to be true. I think it will be Sirianni first. I also want to thank one of our other listeners. We got a tweet yesterday.
Okay.
in response to the Castellanos Hurts discussion that people just were confused by a little bit.
Okay.
And it's okay.
It was easily to be confused by.
It happens. I mean, I painted the picture extremely well. It was a Picasso,
You sort of painted it like if you had maybe given your son some finger paints.
Oh, yeah, and let him go to work?
Yeah, I think it would have been.
But
that.
anyways, one of the response said, hey, it's unfair to compare Castellanos and Hurts, even though I wasn't the players, but it's okay.
Oh, sure.
He said Castellanos is past his prime, Hurts is still not in his prime. And I said, okay, that's not what I was talking about, but sure. But it made me.
Is he past his prime? Castellanos?
I mean, probably past it, but
What do you consider baseball prime?
I don't know, 28 to 32.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that. But I mean, you could still be very good at
He's
33,
right.
34,
Yeah,
35.
exactly.
Like, it doesn't mean that you're dead.
Right.
Like, it's not like you stop playing
he's
baseball.
been relatively incredibly healthy.
Yeah.
A guy who shows up for work. He shows up every day.
Absolutely.
Somehow he keeps getting in the lineup every day.
Hey,
Performance
it's
doesn't matter.
climbing up. One day now, 215, baby.
Yeah. He's the only one that doesn't need these days off that every other player needs.
But it made me
Somehow.
think, again, it's back to Hurts. It made me think, what is Jalen Hurts' ceiling? When we're talking about prime, right? So the guy made me think, like, when he said Hurts is in his prime, I was like, yeah, interesting. When he gets into his prime, what is his ceiling? So we've now seen 3 years as a starter
Sure.
of Jalen Hurts. Year one wasn't all that good. They had to go strictly to the run game.
What would you give him, a C?
Yeah, I was ready to look for other options.
Yeah, you were on the Russell Wilson train.
Russell Wilson,
others.
Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
I didn't want Zach Wilson, but the
Right.
Eagles told you that they
looked into it.
They looked into it, but they couldn't get up as high as 2. They were able to
Right.
get up as high as 3 if they wanted to. So the Eagles themselves told you this guy might not be the long-term answer. We're going to look elsewhere. They couldn't get what they wanted. They couldn't get to where they needed to be. So they said, let's go with another year of Jalen Hurts. Remember they had the 2 first-round picks the following season that they could have packaged to move up, all that kind of stuff. Hurts ends up balling out and finishes runner-up in MVP.
And he should have had it.
And he should have had it, especially because he missed the 2 games and they lose the 2 games that he doesn't play in, right? So he probably should have won MVP. He doesn't get it. He balls out in the playoffs. Best game of his life other than the fumbles in the Super Bowl. He outduels Patrick Mahomes. So if you want to say that's his ceiling, like he'll never be better than that, okay, fine. I just want to think moving forward. Because year 3, it went back down. It was kind of in between 21 and 22. Closer to 21 than it was to 22, if we're being honest with those.
Okay.
Right? Like 22, he played damn near perfect. He played as the second best player in the NFL. What do you believe is the ceiling of Jalen Hurts? Like, what should we have expectations for? Because I think there's a lot of people that just expect him to get back to the 2022 form. You and I have talked about it. We both believe that he will come closer to 2022 than 21 and 23 next season.
I think 2022 is going to be close to. I would expect right now, if you told me with the surrounding cast that the Eagles have created, Jalen Hurts can have 3, 4, 5 years of his career that are close to 2022.
And that doesn't
mean
mean top 5 quarterback.
That doesn't mean go to the Super Bowl every one of those years.
Of course, yeah.
But it means his performance. I have no doubts that he can be that guy. Not like I don't have any doubts.
Like last year, you could make the case that they lost some games because of him.
Yes.
There might be games this year.
Well, the Jet game was just terrible.
There might be games this year where we go, they lost, but it wasn't because of Jalen Hurts. Because I think it's going to go back up. Like, I think the arrow is going to go back upward. But,
I would agree with you.
But how high up? That's something I want to try to figure out today because he played like the second best player in the entire NFL 2 years ago.
How about best quarterback in the NFC?
I mean, it's
How about that?
It's possible.
No, I think it's if he isn't in the conversation for best quarterback in the NFC, then something's wrong. Then he's not the guy. Because if you put any one of a semblance of quarterbacks
right
behind this offensive line and everything the Eagles have in weaponry, if Jalen Hurts isn't this year amongst...
You're saying conversation. You're not saying he has to be.
But he has to be. No, but he has to be where you're making the argument going, well, it might be Goff. It might be Hurts. It might be Brock Purdy.
Right.
If he isn't in that...
And here are the names you just said.
No, I agree with you.
I know
and that's another reason.
But you're right. I know you say, and you're right. We probably underrate Jared Goff.
We do.
And we have a certain...
And we underrate Purdy, too.
Yeah, we have a disdain with Purdy because of that
Yes.
Purdy Hurts thing. But you're not saying Mahomes,
No.
prime Brady,
That's what
prime
I'm saying.
Rodgers. You're saying freaking Jared
Right.
Goff and Brock Purdy. Like,
And
yeah,
that's-
Jalen Hurts should be better than those guys who are in the conversation.
And if he isn't there, if you're not able to argue at the end of this year, if we can't argue that Hurts is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFC, we got a major problem.
All right,
we
love
have a
to hear
major
from you.
problem.
You can call and text in 610-632-0975. Our two Eagles topics that we're running with today. Do you believe the relationship between Hurts and Sirianni matters? And if you do, are you concerned that it still seems like it's not all that great heading into a season where we're going to start having high expectations again? And Jalen Hurts specifically, what is the ceiling for Jalen Hurts? We'd love to hear from you. 610-632-0975. Phil's back tonight. They take on the Red Sox in Boston. And John is starting to do something that I'm not ready for. But I can't blame anyone for doing this. We'll talk about that next as well. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic, opening up the show, talking about the Birds. Do you believe it matters that Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts need to nurture their relationship? That's the word we've been using because that's the word that Jeff McClain used, 4 or 5 months ago
Yes.
when we had, when we were talking about. I was still doing middays when he said it,
No,
and
he-
then
he
he
was-
said it again on this show.
It was January.
Yeah.
It was January, so it is 4 or 5 months ago. And more importantly, I don't know how much time they would have had to have done it.
Right, because during the offseason, they go their separate ways. But,
Correct.
a simple, hey, Jalen, thinking about you, man.
I don't
Hope
think
you're
they're
having a good time.
I don't think they're on a text chain.
Hold on a second. Sirianni, I still remember. Oh, man, every time Oklahoma football plays, I'm texting Jalen. I don't know if he's doing that anymore.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know. Maybe Jalen blocked him. New
I'm not
phone
sure
who
it's
this. I don't know. But we want to know.
New phone, who dis?
Does it matter to you that Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts seem to still need to nurture their relationship? Again, we're basing this off of an answer in a press conference or a lack thereof an answer in a press conference. Well, now the
3.
the most recent press conference.
Right, I understand, but
yeah.
it still is 3.
It is now 3, yeah. And if you believe that it does still need to be nurtured or you believe that it matters, how concerned are you going into this season? Now, you said you would be. Connor's like, who cares? Now, you also, I don't blame you for thinking that Nick Sirianni doesn't necessarily matter to this team. But I do believe
that matters.
If things start to go poorly, he matters. I go back to that Brian Westbrook thing. First day of our show, followed by the first day of Bob Cooney middays, Brian Westbrook. And he reiterated it the other day at the Brian Dawkins outing, saying they better get off to a hot start or people are going to start looking at Nick Sirianni because he's the guy that's still here after many people were fired last year.
Yeah, but that's the NFL. Like, you kind of just have to get off to a hot start if you're going to be a contending team. It's not a long enough runway. And my thing is, I look at any other player on the roster. Do I really care if this team likes Nick Sirianni or not? I look at him. I look at him as a guy who shouldn't be here. So can I blame him? And also, if the play callers on both sides of the ball are going to hold more authority in their relationship with the players, what's the worst case scenario if they don't like Nick Sirianni? They're still going to listen to Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio.
Here, they tune him out.
Yeah, dude.
But
he's the guy leading the meetings. He's the guy leading the charge going onto the field on game day. Like, there's a lot that Nick Sirianni does, man, even though he's not calling plays.
I got you.
Now, people will believe that. I think a lot of fans will believe that rah-rah speeches and stuff like that don't matter.
Right.
I don't know how many times, though, I've heard from players, especially in football, that coaches that could get them fired up.
Dude, the flower speech was talked
that
about.
could get them fired up, that could get them thinking about things, that could be like philosophers.
Yeah.
And they don't have to be best buddies or anything like that, but the minute they tune you out,
that's when you're in trouble.
Like, I'll never forget Dan Quinn's last year in Atlanta. Before, and he'd struggled. He had the 28-3 2 years before and everything, and he was struggling. He was floundering. And he came into the initial press conference, initial team meeting, and they decided to put it on video. And Dan Quinn walks into the room, and he's all amped up because he's much like Sirianni. And he says, guys, I can tell you, I've never been more woke for a season than I am this year. And I'm going.
He said woke.
And the next day, I'm like, okay, that isn't what woke means.
Right.
What is he talking about? And it was funny as players then were mocking it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And it was over.
Yeah.
It was over before the season started.
I mean, look, and you
It was
said,
bad.
and look, football is a different beast.
It's
right?
a different beast.
Like, I literally made fun of Dan Campbell's press conference, the biting kneecaps, and
Oh, no question.
You, if you knock us down, we'll eat one kneecap. You knock us down again, we'll bite the other one. Like that, to me, that was weird. I remember watching Hard Knocks, and there were players crying at the end of training camp, getting ready for week 1 because they loved each other so much, and that team ended up sucking. I think but they had the second half of that season where
it was the foundation for last year.
Yeah, and then last year they go to the NFC Championship game, so clearly that stuff matters. And I know Dan Campbell makes a lot of decisions, but he's not the offensive play caller of that team.
I mocked it too.
Yeah, and look,
I mocked it too. I didn't like it. I said it seemed like something out of WWE.
Right, and at some point they might tune it out.
And it might
at
wear
some
off.
point. Like Nick Sirianni brings up Kobe and Jordan in every single press conference and in every single meeting, it seems like, because he always talks about it during his press conference. Or his brother. That might run out at some point. And to your point, John, once you tune him out, that's troublesome. And so hopefully, And again, player is probably more of a better relationship or a more important relationship than player to coach. And if they start asking Jalen Hurts, the franchise quarterback, what he thinks about Nick Sirianni, and he doesn't really speak glowingly off mic as well, that's troublesome.
Nick's in year 4. He's got another year guaranteed after this one.
Yep.
Jeffrey Lurie would have no problem writing off a year.
We've seen it.
He wasn't going to write off 2 years.
Right.
And so he's got a chance. I believe this is all. I do believe this is all going to work out. And I don't know why. I think I'm just betting on talent. I'm just betting on overwhelming talent.
I did an entire show before we started doing mornings together where I came to the realization that talent doesn't always prevail.
Oh, well.
And that was the Eagles season last year.
We know that, but it doesn't always prevail. But rarely do you see a team as how about this? You never see a team as talented as the Eagles go 1-7 down the stretch.
I saw last year.
No, but that's it. No, but and what's it happened? The NFL's been around 100-some years.
Right.
It's happened once.
Right, exactly.
You never see that. That's an anomaly. I am so high on this season.
No,
like
we all
I am very. But I mean, I'm so.
I had to talk myself down from 13 wins to 12 because I thought that was more realistic than 13 wins.
Then I'm going 12. But I love something that Connor said in the first segment, is that it really is true. You don't have time to. You need a hot start in the NFL.
Yeah.
If you want to go to a Super Bowl, you want to go to that. Most of the time, you need a hot start.
You need a hot start, yeah.
Unless you are a team like the Chiefs that's transcendent.
Right, and that's Andy Reid. That's been Andy Reid's career.
Andy Reid starts.
Yeah,
right.
Unbelievable.
Exactly.
All right, so you can text in, call in 610-632-0975. We're going to get to a big text reaction segment coming up later on this hour, but I want to open up this other conversation. So John texts, you had an idea yesterday.
Yes.
And I do want to discuss it, but I'm also not ready to discuss it.
Why are you not ready to discuss it?
Because I'm trying to enjoy the summer, man.
Wait a minute. Don't pull a Ray Dunn on me. We're not asking you to not enjoy your summer. I always this whole premise of not enjoying your summer by looking ahead at things is absolutely absurd. You can enjoy.
Might be for you.
You can enjoy the next 3 months of your summer and still be looking forward and looking ahead to the NFL season.
For you.
It does not mean you are not enjoying. If you don't get enjoyment because you can't look ahead to things, then why do you plan vacations 6 months out?
Oh, well, vacation's different than Phillies baseball.
What does a vacation give you? Joy, excitement, build up fun.
Yes.
Look, it is absolutely okay for Phillies fans now. And if you're afraid to do it, then you don't believe in your team.
That's not accurate. That's not accurate at all.
If you cannot,
it's not.
If you cannot peek ahead, if you're going to pull some, I want to just enjoy the ride.
I just want to enjoy the ride.
No, you don't. This town doesn't like enjoying the ride.
Well, okay,
this town is anti-enjoying the ride.
Okay, I could be a part of a 5% group.
This town is not.
I will be happy in my 5%.
Then you are
Me and my 5% are friends.
You're a little marginal cult of enjoying the ride. It's okay now for Phillies fans to say, okay, we are that team. We are there.
We are that team.
And it's okay to start to say.
And I want to see them do that against the Red Sox. I want to see them do that against the Orioles.
I want to see it too. This week, I said to you, this week's a nasty week.
It is.
I think 3 at the Red Sox, 3 at the Orioles is one of the toughest weeks left on the calendar.
Tough stretch, especially coming off of the London time zone, all that kind of stuff.
I'm not concerned 25. I'm not concerned 25 games over 500.
Of course
I'm not concerned with this team showing me something and proving me something. And yes, I will look ahead.
All right, so
to the rest of the landscape.
What was your question? I like the question. Don't get me wrong. As a seam head, and Connor as a seam head, you would like it as well. What was the question that you posed? I know the promo had been running,
right.
all day and all through the night. But your question that you posed the audience today.
The last 2 years, when we sat here on June 11th, the Phillies were a 500-ish club.
Right.
The Phillies were not in any way in a position to say, you can count on October. I want to know, who are you looking at when you glance around the landscape? And if you're not glancing around it, hey, what are the Dodgers doing? What are these other teams doing? I know you are. Everybody does. Everybody looks at the standings.
I literally have the standings
like
up right now.
Who's this year's Phillies team?
From 2 years ago.
Who's last year's Arizona Diamondbacks? Who's laying in wait? Because 2 years in a row, the 6th seed in the in Major League Baseball has advanced to the World Series out of the National
it's
League.
amazing.
And
So it's a fair question to ask.
They've only had a 6 seed twice, and 2 years in a row, the 6 seed has gone to the World Series. So who's lurking in the weeds that we're not talking about that you actually believe could be a World Series team? Because this will make you feel better. Andrew, Connor.
Why is your answer nobody?
Nobody.
Because I kind of have that answer too, if I'm being honest
That's
with you.
my answer. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't see anybody lurking in the weeds. What I see is the big boys.
Phillies,
that are
Braves,
gonna be-
Dodgers.
Correct. I see nobody lurking in the weeds. That's last year's Diamondbacks. That's this year's thing. And the only team that I would consider could give me the little twinge of that would be the Padres.
Interesting.
Little twinge.
I will give you one other potential option.
Okay.
And it's the team that did it last year. And the only reason why is the pitching staff. I don't think Jordan Montgomery is going to suck all season long.
I don't believe he will either.
They still have Zach Gallen. They actually have a good rotation. And what have we seen? The last 2 years, the teams that were the 6th seed that made it that deep run has been the pitching staffs.
It
a
has
large
been.
part of it. It's not like the Diamondbacks were tearing the cover off the ball in the playoffs last year, but their pitching staff was electric. Their bullpen was electric.
Now, let's remember, this point last year, I believe the Diamondbacks were leading the NL West.
And
They
then
got
they-
off to a
Yeah,
really
that's
hot
right.
start.
Then the
Then they
Dodgers ended up
collapsed.
coming
The
over,
in
yeah.
the weeds team doesn't mean they're in the weeds right now. It could be a team leading a division.
Could
It
be the
could
Brewers.
be a Milwaukee Brewers and have a tough second half, look like a team that's limping in and then play through. Now, to your point, Andrew, about pitching, to me, the only team that popped out was the Chicago Cubs. Because when you look at the ERA leaders in the National League,
There's 2 of them.
There's 4 Phillies, but
And
there's 2
yeah.
Cubs, and they've been good. Javier Assad and Shota Imanaga have been amazing.
Here's the sad thing, and this is strictly just me. Assad doesn't scare me. He should. He's been very good all season long.
No, he
Brandon
should.
Pfaadt didn't scare you last year.
Right, exactly. And then Brandon Pfaadt goes out there and strikes out 9 guys, and the Phillies didn't have a clue.
Yeah, so I don't think there are going to be regressions to the mean. There's not going to be every year a 6 seed makes it. So I'm more with you guys than I'm against you guys, but I do think there are tricky teams, and we may not be able to see them yet because you got to find out who's going to be limping in that has higher talent.
See, I look at it as right now the National League is a Hooters calendar shoot. It's very top heavy. I mean, it is. It is a like right now, 2 wild
Did you
card-
write that one down?
No, 2 wild card teams. The last wild card right now, the third wild card is a game under 500.
Yeah.
The second wild card is 500.
Yeah, but you know what that means? Those teams that are a game under 500 go, we're still in it. Let's be buyers at the deadline.
Could be.
And we'll see how these teams. And look, we can revisit this conversation again in a month and a half.
Right.
But
And maybe the answer will change.
Well, yeah, absolutely. If the rosters are different. But I'm not ready to have the conversation. I will have the conversation because I do think it is a fun conversation to have. Because to your point, you're not wrong when you say
I don't see
factually
it.
correct. The last 2 years, the 6th seed got to the World Series coming out of the National League.
It's not been the team that ran away with it, the number 1.
Absolutely. So we open that up as well. You can call in, text in 610-632-0975. We get to your text reactions coming up next. Connor said that they're coming in hot and heavy. A lot of Eagles stuff on the table, but Phillies as well. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Philadelphia Union Soccer.
Happy Tuesday morning. Good Tuesday morning to you all. By the way, it was announced yesterday. Big announcement. Fan Fest Year 11 happens Saturday, September 28th at Xfinity Live, all presented by our friends at FanDuel. It's the biggest party of the year for Philadelphia sports fan. All the Fanatic hosts, celebrity guests, Philly sports legends, activities, games, prizes, and much more. Go to 975thefanatic.com for all the details, including info for our online ticket rates. If you haven't been to one yet, I don't know where you've been. But I hope
you'll
that
be
you
with
make
us
it.
this
Yeah,
year,
I hope
right?
you're a first-time Fan Fest person this year if you haven't been yet.
I'm going to tell you, the September Fan Fest has me smiling, though.
Yeah.
The heat.
The heat's
I liked
down.
it. Now, we had 2 years ago, we had a September Fan Fest because of the hurricane that came in and that weekend, and so we had to reschedule it. I got to tell you, the September Fan Fest has me smiling because 5 or 4 weeks later than normal, or 5 weeks later than normal,
Yeah.
it's going to be probably 15 degrees.
No, it's going to be
cooler.
beautiful, and it's going to be,
I love that.
football season will already have kicked off.
Eagles will already have played 3 games.
Phillies will be in the playoffs or pushing toward the playoffs.
It's the last weekend of the season.
Oh, how about that?
Phillies are playing the Mets in New York
Okay. Oh, that's awesome.
to end the season, and maybe it'll be a day where you're clinching the number 1 seed or something like that.
And-
or hopefully that's already done by then.
So this will be I have attended all 10 Fan Fests.
Which is crazy.
This will be my 11th. Something that's really cool as the years have gone on. Remember, there's some tough times when I was first working here.
Oh, yeah, real tough.
So it was
Very
really
tough.
only Eagles jerseys that were at Fan Fest, right?
Okay.
Because the Sixers were in the process, so there was very little Sixers wear.
Your cosplayer buddies didn't
Yeah,
come?
they didn't show up. The Phillies were just horrible.
Yeah, they were horrible.
The Flyers were It's now starting to be where when you go to Fan Fest, you see the sea of red, you see the sea of green, you see some blue.
And
You'll start
last
seeing
year-
orange and black this year, I imagine.
Last year you even saw some.
Yeah.
I think the Jonesy Briere thing got people.
I think so.
Got people going, okay, we're bought in.
Yeah.
Here's some. And obviously this year should help that a little bit. I love that. And it's so much fun to see the tribalism of people out there, too, with, congregating around the Sixer stuff.
Yeah.
Congregating around the Flyer stuff. Hanging out with all the, the Eagles guests will come and.
Right.
It's so much fun.
It's so much fun. And
It
I
is a
know
great
It was
event.
announced yesterday during the best show ever. But yes, Saturday, September 28th, Fan Fest number 11. Can't believe it. All right, Connor, what do we have on the text line today? Our topics: do you believe that Hurts and Sirianni need to nurture their relationship, as said by Jeff McClain months ago, that it still needed to be nurtured? And if you believe yes, then are you concerned going into the season that it still doesn't seem like it's all that great? That was question 1. Question 2, realistically, what is Jalen Hurts' ceiling, not just this year, I'm saying moving forward for his career, because he is now the franchise quarterback. He is now entering year 1 of the big contract.
Oh, yeah.
So what is the ceiling for Jalen Hurts? And when it comes to baseball and the Phillies, who could be that dark horse team in the postseason coming in September, October, and maybe even November? Connor, what do we have on the text line?
Eddie from Camden checks in
Hello,
on
Eddie.
the Jalen Hurts Nick Sirianni relationship and says, I think John's right when it comes to Jalen Hurts and Coach Nick. It's a tough situation, but at the end of the day, your boss is your boss. You may not like them, but you have to entertain them and you have to respect them. And anybody who sticks their neck out for another grown man deserves respect. Jalen has yet to do that. Hopefully he does and makes the relationship to the media and the public fixed.
See, I think that's not just because he agrees with me, but I think when one person look, if they don't get along, and we don't know the whole details,
Right,
of
we
it,
don't.
But if they don't get along, and one guy publicly plays the game, and one guy absolutely goes out of his way not to me, that's a jerk move.
And it's
That's a jerk move.
and it's pretty
that's
pretty
not
obvious.
cool.
It's pretty like when
Yes.
when you hear Sirianni talk about Jalen Hurts, he's
He always
basically talking
gushes
like
about
it's
him.
his son.
He
Right.
gushes about him. He talks so kindly of Jalen. He talks glowingly of Jalen, and I believe that for the football player, he believes it. That when he speaks glowingly and
Gotcha,
speaks,
yeah.
But I will also tell you this, and here's where I think it comes from. That I think that Jalen Hurts was raised. I mean, he played for Nick Saban.
Yeah.
He was the son of a football coach, so you know that even the dinner table was probably dominated with
football,
constant
yeah.
coaching. Then he plays for Saban, who is an absolute just monster as far as just it's 24/7 football and
Meticulous,
everything.
yeah.
And then he plays for Lincoln Riley, who's another one of those just buried head in the playbook nerds that. And then he plays for Nick Sirianni, and it's like, I think he looks at Nick Sirianni and he says, he's not as serious a guy as those guys, as a football coach.
And you could be right. And I do believe that Sirianni, Sirianni talks about football all the time.
Yeah, but does he? I don't think Nick Sirianni talks about it like Nick Saban does.
No, he probably
I don't
doesn't.
think he's a Nick Saban type of coach.
Right. And maybe that could happen one day down the road. He could still mature. Is Nick Sirianni an immature head coach?
Yes.
You believe so. So
Yeah,
maybe
I
there
do.
is still time for him to mature.
And yes, and I also think that if this is Nick Sirianni maturing and learning to coach, then I think the sky for him is the limit. Because he's been a winner while he's been doing it. But he needs to improve.
With the right people around him.
Oh, no question.
The right people
but
around
he
him.
needs to improve on a lot of things, and we'll see if he does.
Yep. All right. Give us another text there, Connor.
Chris from Morrisville checks in, says, I think their relationship 100% matters, and it's for the reason that no matter if he's the CEO, head coach, or offensive guru or head coach, he needs to be respected by the team as a whole. And when the best player on the team, the ambassador or voice of the team, treats him like this, public or private, it does not set a good example for the rest of the team.
And that's what I was saying.
doesn't.
Player-player relationship is better than player-coach, or more important than player-coach. And if the top dog is not riding with the head coach, I wonder what that trickle-down effect is. All right, we continue the conversation. We'll reset it all coming your way next. You can climb in on the phone line, text line, 610-632-0975. Coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, I saw an awesome stat yesterday that just paints the picture about how dominant the Philly starters have been. It also shows how much baseball has changed. I'll tell you about that later on in the 7 o'clock hour. But first, we reset the show and get to more of your calls and texts. Coming your way next, it's Kincade and Salciunas right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
a potential return for turn.
Salciunas on this Tuesday morning, 97.5 The Fanatic. Coming up later on this hour, 7:30, I'll bring it up to you. This incredible stat that I saw yesterday on Twitter for the Phillies starting pitchers this year compared to the rest of the rotations in Major League Baseball. But it's going to show you two things. It's going to show you how dominant the Phillies starting pitching has been. It's also going to show you how much of a difference baseball is nowadays. It is
different.
Very different.
Like doing radio when you turn your mic on.
Yeah, it's all right. It's
very different.
That happens once a day for you.
Yeah, no.
Not as bad as your
don't dig
shooting.
it.
Not as bad as your shooting percentage with the
trash can.
The trash
I've
can.
been pretty good this week. I got off to a good start yesterday. I only missed a couple.
Oh, yeah, only missed
It's
a
all right.
couple bunnies.
Couple bunnies.
All right, so here's what we're
At
talking.
least I took the shots. I'm not like Ben Simmons.
We're gonna get into a Sixers thing later on.
I know.
You sent us something yesterday.
I couldn't believe it. It's interesting.
Well, it just made me angry. So thanks a lot. I know, dude. I was in the line at Target.
And you got mad at Target?
I'm in the line. I see an email from John Kincade. I see something that just pissed me off. So thanks.
Didn't mean to.
Target's supposed to be a joyous place, is it not?
I personally love Target and Walmart.
Well, I was not happy in line yesterday when you sent me that email. So we'll get into that today as well. But here's what we're talking about today. Let's play the clip one more time, Connor. Our first question for you guys. Do you think it matters if Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts nurture their relationship? I credit Jeff McClain, who was the first one to say it on these airwaves when I was still doing middays. And then when I made the jump up here to mornings, we started talking about it more. And he still said that it still needs to be nurtured. Now, we have not asked that question since the last time Jeff brought that up, which I'm pretty sure was around March. Well, it was when the show started. So it would have been late March, early April when he said that it still needed to be nurtured. And then last week, Jalen Hurts had the opportunity to throw Nick Sirianni a bone during a press conference, and this was his answer.
What have you noticed about, Nick being open-minded to change up the offense like he has? I mean, what does that say about him?
I mean, it's a great question. I don't know that I know the answer to it.
Well, what have you seen? What have you seen from him as far as doing that?
I think he's just, he's been great, and the messages he's delivering to the team. He's trying to be very intentional in what he's saying, and yeah.
As the lip smack, the crutch.
I swear to you.
Trying to think of something.
The lip smack, the ums, that was terrible. I mean, that was terrible.
Because he can't think of something nice to say about Sirianni. At least that's how it comes off.
No, it does come off that way.
It comes off that way. I asked the question straight up yesterday, are we making too much of it? And I don't remember, Connor, you are the master of the text line. Did we have anybody text in yesterday saying, yes, you guys are making too much of this?
No, not that I saw.
That's exactly. Like, I didn't get a tweet saying, stop trying to drum something up. Like, I think people hear that and realize that there's still something between the two of them. And I don't know if it's getting better. I don't know if it's getting worse. I don't know if it's just the same. I don't know if it has to get better, which is why I'm asking you guys today to answer the question, 610-632-0975. If you believe the two of them do need to nurture their relationship, do you then get concerned going into this season that it seems like it hasn't been nurtured yet?
I think you do know, though, right? In your heart of hearts, you do know that it has to get better.
Yes, that it has to get better.
This can't get on. This can't go on like
the only thing is, I don't know if it is bad. We don't know. Like, I'm basing this off of that answer and the reporting of Jeff McClain, which I go to the grave with because I think Jeff McClain does a tremendous job. And so we'll get an update later on today if the relationship still needs to be nurtured or not. But based off of that answer and that lack of answer, tells me that there's still probably some work that needs to be done between the head coach and the franchise quarterback. I'm not saying head coach and long snapper, okay? I'm not saying assistant coach and the guy that brings out the water during timeouts.
Big Dom.
I'm talking about the head coach and the freaking franchise quarterback, man.
You are worried about Big Dom's relationship with, Jalen.
No, I think they're
Gotta have
fine.
that.
That's why I got the promotion, man.
Exactly.
I think they're fine. So we'd love to hear from you, 610-632-0975. The other Hurts thing that I want to get into, and I want to try to get some more reaction on this because we've been so focused on the Hurts-Sirianni thing. What is Jalen Hurts' ceiling? I don't know if he'll ever replicate 2022.
Why would you doubt that he could?
Because
what would be your reasoning to doubt that he could?
He was 1A, 1B with Patrick Mahomes.
Okay.
I think it would be unfair to expect him to replicate 2022. He played out of his mind, man.
He did. So, which means
means it's there. It means he can do it.
That's there. So,
but I don't want to hold him to that. Like I don't want to.
No.
You have to play like 2022, or it's time to move on.
No, but don't. I absolutely believe that we're going to see. I said earlier, 4 to 5 seasons of Jalen Hurts' career where he plays close to 2022.
And look, I think
and that doesn't mean going to the Super Bowl. No, he may exceed it too. He might exceed. Like I think his 2022 regular season stats, he will exceed. I think he's going to become a better passer.
I would be so impressed. And it's not me doubting it. I would just be so impressed if he were to not just replicate, be better than 2022.
Yeah, I believe he's going to be.
Now he should be with the talent around him. Like, let's be honest.
I think he's going to be.
Got incredible talent around him.
No, he does. I think he's going to be though. To me, I have such little doubt that it does concern me a little bit.
I got you.
I don't like that little, because I never saw last year coming, despite the fact that I was one of the people sounding the alarms going, they're 7-1, but they're not playing well. They're 10-1, but they're not playing well. That I never saw it coming. So I feel the blindsided nature of that maybe I've got a little bit of a blind spot that I got to work on.
But I do think something you said earlier, the mark of being in the conversation as one of the, if not the best quarterbacks in the NFC, is totally fair. The NFC's
if he's not, we got a problem.
It's weak.
No, we got a problem if he's not.
Right, the NFC quarterbacks versus the AFC quarterbacks is like the Eastern versus Western Conference in the NBA. Like it's really not. It's a big difference between the two teams, between the two conferences for quarterbacks. I mean, we're talking about C.J. Stroud maybe surpassing Jalen Hurts. All right, he's in the AFC. Really, in the NFC, it's Jared Goff, for crying out loud. Brock Purdy, I know Matt Stafford still has it, right? So he should still be in the conversation.
If he could stay healthy.
Yeah, if he could stay healthy. And, by the way, he's another year older. And then after that, the rise of Jordan Love, right? And there's still people that have doubts of Jordan Love. John's not wrong when he says he only had a second half.
He had 6 weeks. Like 6-7 weeks of good ball.
Very good 6-7 weeks.
But no, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt me to bring up this name.
Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think Dak is fine, but I just think that I believe he's one of those guys, Connor, that we've already seen Dak's ceiling, though.
Certainly possible.
I mean, 5,000-yard, pretty much a 5,000-yard passer, close to it multiple times. I think we've seen his ceiling. And maybe with a different franchise, he could be different. Like, a different team or anything like that, which we might see after this year.
We could. I mean, it's poisonous down there. Here are your NFC quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins. I think we all have Hurts ahead of Kirk Cousins. I know Kirk Cousins should still get his respect, but I would take Jalen Hurts over Kirk Cousins, over Kyler Murray, over Bryce Young, Caleb Williams, too early to tell. Dak Prescott's in the conversation, Jared Goff, Jordan Love, Matt Stafford, and then what? Sam Darnold or J.J. McCarthy, depending on who starts for the Vikings. Derek Carr, no. Daniel Jones, no. Geno Smith, no. Baker Mayfield, no. Jaden Daniels, can't say anything about him yet. And then there's Brock Purdy. Like, it's pretty freaking weak.
No, that's
extremely weak, man.
We have a serious problem if Jalen Hurts is not in the discussion for the best quarterback in the NFC. If you're not making the argument that he's better than anybody in the NFC this year, we've got a big problem because none of those other quarterbacks have all the advantages that Jalen Hurts.
Absolutely, except for Purdy. Debo, Brandon Ayuk.
I would not take
Christian McCaffrey.
First of all, I think he's going to lose one of the receivers.
He might.
One of them is going, I believe, in a trade or they're not getting deals done. And I don't think their offensive line's as good as ours.
Okay,
really don't.
It's still pretty good.
No, it still is pretty good.
Trent Williams is a freak.
Absolutely.
First ballot Hall of Famer. Would love to hear from you, 610-632-0975. Connor, have some text ready, but let's go to our man Mike in Delran who wants to talk Hurts Sirianni and also FanFest. What up, Michael?
What's up, Mikey?
What's up, guys? Good morning. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm living the dream, man. Every time I hear the question, I hear his response. He's not a man of many words to begin with, right? But he could have answered that in a way that could have been more damning than just not saying nothing. And maybe he could have done more, but those guys are night and day. They're exact opposites. I mean,
they are.
You could argue that Hurts is how Sirianni should be, and Sirianni is how Hurts should be, right? Like it's. I don't think it's as big as we make it out to be.
Here's my only problem, Mike. You said he's a man of few words, but here's the thing.
And a lot of them are by the way.
Right. Well, he's the hallmark guy, right? We always make the jokes that he always has some sort of I don't know, analogy or fortune cookie thing, but at least he says stuff. He didn't say anything. Like, he couldn't even muster up words.
But, like, oh, yeah, now that Kellen Moore's here, everything's looking great. And then what does it say about him? Oh, it says that he realized he sucked at calling plays and being part of the offense, so he's backing out. Like, he could have totally ruined that. But anyway, I don't think it's as big a deal as it seems. FanFest, super excited about that date.
Do you like that date?
Yeah, it could be a little cooler.
I like that.
It could be a nice day. But listen, I got an idea you guys need to try out. You guys should talk amongst yourselves while you're planning this thing. You guys need to do like a segment on the stage of roast the host. Because of that Brady roast. If you guys could
that went so well.
And I think you'd be pretty good at it, Michael.
I think you
I'll
would
roast
too.
you guys all day.
I know you would, man.
Good job, Mikey.
Thanks as always, Mike. Mike, the great comedian nowadays.
He is. He's doing a good job with that.
Stand up, going
Very
around
funny.
the Jersey area.
I got to tell you, I saw Nate Bargatze the other night up in Allentown. They had 3 comedians that opened for him, and then a host. So I've never saw so many guys leading up to the main guy. And I've seen Mike from Delran do stand-up, and I thought he was better than 2 of them.
Yeah, he does good. He does good acts. And I'm sure Mike would have. And Mike listens a lot. He knows all of our
He was good.
personal issues as well. So I'm sure Mike would be good at a roast. We'll see if we do something like that.
Great.
All right, what do we have on the text line there, Connor? Now, Mike says it's not a big deal. He doesn't believe that answer means anything. Look.
I think he knows, though, as he acknowledges, he knows that there's a problem with their relationship. There's a problem with their relationship.
Yeah, and look,
Something's not right.
We'll be speaking with Jeff McClain in less than an hour, 8:10, and we will ask Jeff McClain about this. That's what will be the majority of our conversation
He
today.
may disagree with us completely, and he'll be much more in the know. And
you know what? If he does, then
it's probably something
then
we
let's
should
move on to
from.
the show sheet.
Exactly.
Right?
No, it's the truth, though. He's probably
exactly.
right.
And 8:10, that's why we wait till after the midway point so that we at least get 2 hours and 10 minutes of content. What do we have on the text line, Connor?
Jay from Westchester.
At least I'm honest with the people.
What's up, Jay?
He says, is it possible, and this is on the comparison between Jalen Hurts and Nick Castellanos from yesterday that you guys brought up earlier.
That nobody understood.
Is it possible that Jalen Hurts is more like Aaron Nola and not Nick Castellanos? Nola is the every other year ace. Personally, I'd take it if he's closer to 2022 next year, and that means another shot at the Super Bowl. We have to be content with that.
I think that's a much better analogy. I think that's a much better analogy.
Yeah, but people aren't getting it. I
understand.
I wasn't comparing Hurts to Castellanos.
Just hearing the names together just boggles the mind. I think as far as because Jalen Hurts is an elite performer in his field, Aaron Nola every other year is an elite performer in his field.
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys drive me crazy.
I don't really want an every other year quarterback.
No, you'd rather have an every year. No. Okay, I would rather have an every year quarterback than an every other year quarterback. But if you're guaranteeing me the next 10 years, I have 5 elite second best player in the NFL.
Yeah, I'll take it.
I would take it.
I'll sign in blood right now. Give me a finger.
Because I have said multiple times, I don't think he will ever replicate 2022 because I think that was something that few quarterbacks will be able to do. So if you're guaranteeing me that he replicates it 5 more times, I'm down.
I'm going to tell you, I think you're being borderline, not don't take the word.
Call me a hater.
Disrespectful.
Call me a hater.
No, I don't think. No,
you're a hater.
I don't use hater. I don't use hater. I'm not a teenage girl. The disrespectful to what Jalen Hurts is and can be. There's no reason he can't exceed what he was in 2022.
Well, there's plenty.
2022.
There's plenty of reasons. I saw him not do it last year.
I understand.
I have now seen him the starting quarterback 3 years.
Okay.
And he played at an elite level and won.
He did. He had an
average in his first year. And I would say last year was still above average in the landscape.
Last year he got at least a B.
In the landscape of the NFL.
Yes, in the landscape of the NFL, he was a top 10 quarterback in the NFL last year.
All right, so a C year 1, an A+ year 2, and a B in year 3?
I said it was CAB. C-A-B. Is how I'd look at it, because without messing around with all the other stuff.
That's better than my college grades, man.
But it certainly was. I saw your transcript. Now that I'm in the Hall of Fame, I saw your transcript. Is that
what you get?
Yeah, we get to see all your
You don't get like a watch. You get people's transcripts.
Get to see your transcript. I can't believe it,
doesn't
man.
feel legal.
No, that sounds horrible.
Yours was in crayon, but it's I think Jalen Hurts absolutely. I got to tell you, his 2022 season, the team had a great year, and he was their leader. I don't think his numbers. I have no question he can exceed those numbers.
So you're just looking at the numbers, though.
Yes, because that is a big part of it. Because the team being successful,
hold on.
His numbers weren't that great.
He missed 2 games. He was out of a lot of fourth quarters because he didn't have to play.
He was.
The passing numbers weren't all that great, but the rushing numbers were tremendous. I don't know.
I want those down, by the way.
I know. I don't exactly. So that means the passing
have to
numbers
go down. Right.
That means the passing numbers have to go
the
up.
passing numbers they absolutely. To me, that is the biggest have-to of this season.
Yes.
Yeah. The biggest have-to is we have to see our quarterback. First of all, I don't need to see 58 tush pushes.
I agree.
For this offense to be successful.
I agree with you, man.
I think
I thought they were too reliant on it last year.
Ridiculous. And now it's fun, it's cute, it's us. It says I want to see. I don't want to see an offense that's reliant on tush pushes on 3rd and 4th downs all the time.
I like that they get first downs almost all the time.
Right.
I use this as an example multiple times. I saw the Dallas Cowboys up against the Eagles. It was a 3rd and 1. Instead of doing a tush push, they did a jet sweep with Robert Turpin, who gained like 35 yards.
Amen.
I didn't see the Eagles I didn't see the Eagles try it.
No, you did. You saw Dallas Goedert. You saw Dallas Goedert a swing pass that went for like 15.
DeAndre Swift I think they had one.
Sweep.
No, I'm not saying the fake tush pushes. I'm saying other plays.
No, but
like they always ran a tush push set.
They ran the tush push
like the
set
wishbone, and they had multiple different plays for it. Like creativity was something that they lacked last year, and dude, I said this so many times last year. It was painful for them to get first downs.
It would
be 1st and 10, then it would be 2nd and 10 or longer, then it would be 3rd and 1, and then they would have to get the tush push first down. That was every single play.
Like Jalen Hurts is the when you talk about the touchdowns. To me the one getting in from the 1-inch line or the 1-yard line on the tush push that does nothing for me.
He got them there.
I understand, but there's a lot of things. I want to see this team be a much more conventional offense, and I believe with Kellen Moore, we're absolutely going to see that.
Here's where we're going to disagree, though, John, because you're looking strictly at the numbers, and can Jalen Hurts have a season where statistically he's better than 2022? To me, I don't care what he is statistically. I care what he is against his peers. And there are so many quarterbacks in football right now with the way the game has gone that could do better than the numbers that Jalen Hurts put up in 2022.
I saw Matt Schaub throw for 4,770 yards in 2009.
Yep. So Hurts could go out and have a season statistically better than 2022 and be the 9th or 10th best quarterback in football. And that's not good enough.
No, because as long as the team, I get you as far as your point of the numbers. But if the numbers go along with this team being successful, this team, Jalen Hurts, there's no reason. When you've got Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, there's no reason that you shouldn't be a 30-touchdown passer. Period.
Yeah.
Period. You should throw 30 touchdowns in your sleep.
We're not disagreeing with you on that. So, I'm just saying, in the landscape of the NFL, 30 touchdowns might not be enough.
Yeah, but the thing is he was the runner-up for the MVP, throwing for 22.
Right, in 1 year. But
that's the year. But that's the year that people are like, I don't know if he can do that again. I think he blows 2022 away. I think we look at the 2022 numbers and go, yeah, it was great because he led the team. He was the most important player.
Yeah, but it was whenever he needed to make a play, the play was made.
Oh, he did.
Last year, you've pointed out the numbers were better last year than 2 years ago. But whenever he needed to make a play, I did not feel comfortable that he was going to make that play. And a lot of times he didn't make the play last year.
There were plenty of times.
Which is why I say 2022, numbers aside, I'm saying the guy that can just make a play whenever he freaking wanted to, like Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if he can replicate that, but can he come close to it? Absolutely he can. And if he does, this team should go places, and we should hold him to that standard. All right.
No, absolutely hold him to that standard.
We get more of your reaction on today's topics coming up next. You can call in, text in 610-632-0975. But I've been promising to give you this. an incredible stat that I saw yesterday that shows how dominant the Phillies pitching staff has been. They've been doing something that even you give Rob Thompson credit for, which is saying something for you, John Kincade.
I do.
It also shows in this specific category how much baseball has changed. I'll give it all to you coming up next. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports.
97.5 The Fanatic. I'm going to tell you right now, an hour from now, around 8:30, we will be giving out a monumental prize. The first ever pair of FanFest tickets from Kincade and Salciunas.
That's awesome.
So 1 hour from now, we'll be doing that around 8:30. Of course, Jeff McClain joins us at 8:10. Today's headlines with Connor Thomas coming your way at 8:05. So still a lot to come.
One of the foremen in my neighborhood, they're building houses on the other side of our community, a big Connor Thomas fan.
Is that right?
Yeah, yesterday we got the shout out from the man, and he said,
Connor.
"That Connor's crazy."
Wait, does that make is that a good crazy or bad crazy?
It was not said that Connor's crazy. It was more said of that Connor's crazy.
All right,
he likes you.
You got one, Connor.
Think of 3 people on this show. I'm the crazy one.
He likes you. I think you tend to be crazier.
Depends.
You tend to be crazier.
Depends on the context of the conversation.
I think life, I'm more nuts. Sports, I'm more normal.
You should be more nuts.
By the way, you guys blew it. I sent you a thing last night. My buddy friends of ours have a baseball company.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I sent you a picture of a hat, and I said, "Who likes it?" None of you said it. And he goes, "Hat's gone." So now the hat's gone. They had hats, the sample hats,
dude,
that they're now going to sell. I sent it to you.
I
said,
have
"Who
like
likes
20,000 hats.
I'm
sorry, I'm at hat capacity. It's a very cool hat.
Well, it's got the seams.
And the seams are above the hat.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm at hat capacity. It's a very cool hat.
You are at hat capacity.
No room at the end.
I did after all the hats that so many of the kind people sent in last year and everything like that. I went through and Olivia had Hatapalooza at college. They had a hats party. I sent her with a trash bag
of hats
full of hats, and they had a Hatapalooza. People bring their hats that they no longer wanted, just had hats, and they may have had alcohol.
Oh well,
I don't know.
That's
if
what makes it a palooza.
I don't know.
You can't have a palooza without booze.
I didn't realize that.
Come on, it's a rule.
Didn't realize that.
It's a rule of mine.
You ever heard of River Palooza?
Yeah, come on.
I didn't realize that. So palooza means booze-a-loser.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good.
That's you loser. All right,
you loser.
We'll get to more reactions coming up on today's topics, but I want to give you this stat.
I want to hear this.
So I saw this tweet from Brooksgate. I don't know. They do baseball content.
Okay.
So Brooksgate put this out. Credit to them. How many times your starting pitcher this season has pitched at least 7+ innings in a game? Do you care to guess how many the Phillies have had? How many times a starting pitcher for the Phillies has gone at least 7+ innings?
Phillies have played 65 games.
Yep.
Have gone 7+ innings? 23.
Connor?
34.
Oh, you're way off. 20.
Okay.
20 is correct.
No, but 20's amazing.
It's amazing.
Out of 65.
Considering the rest of the landscape. The next closest team is actually the Atlanta Braves. They're 16.
Wow. Okay.
So Phillies have done 7+ innings out of a starting pitcher 20 times. The Braves 16. The next closest is Mariners Blue Jays at 12.
This is what tells me, again, where we talked about the other day, that Rob Thompson has shown me some things this year where he's learned from mistakes.
And that's why I said earlier, even
this is
you
where Captain
would
Hook,
support this.
That's what I'm saying. Captain Hook is becoming a little less hookish, but the players make it. It's the player performance that it's been so dominant.
The player performance, but
he's also.
What do you got, Connor? Because I hear you hemming and hawing.
Yeah, dude, I don't think it's Captain Hook. I've never thought it's Captain Hook. That's just me, because when you look at how far behind, like, it has been, the main adjustment this year is he just has better pitching performance.
And
That's the main thing.
It's also an organizational philosophy. They believe they want to try to conserve the arms down the road.
But cut it in half, and they're still, what, an average MLB team? Like, I don't think it's Rob Thompson. I think it's baseball.
So right now, Phillies are at 20, Braves 16, Mariners and Blue Jays are at 12.
That's wild.
Stros, Royals, Padres are at 11. And then it's Dodgers, Giants at 10. Everybody else is less than 10 times through 65 games.
I like
that a starting pitcher's pitched at least 7 times.
I like hearing the Dodgers at 10. That makes me very happy that the Phillies have not only doubled them, but even more. Because I'm looking ahead to.
But then again, it could be philosophy. It could be organizational. I know you don't agree with it, but to Connor's point, this is baseball. Guess who is dead last out of 65? Let me see how many games specifically that they have played. They have played 66 games.
And they're dead last?
They've only had 2 two times his starting pitcher has pitched at least 7 innings.
Are they in division?
No.
Okay. I don't know.
I hope it's the Red Sox since we're playing them.
Nope.
But it's not.
The Colorado Rockies.
How about the first place Milwaukee Brewers?
Really?
Okay, that's wild.
They have only had 2 outings by a starting pitcher that has thrown at least 7 innings.
That's
Wow.
wild.
And they're in first place.
But I also think, and correct me if I'm wrong if you believe differently, the idea that they are a team that says one of our greatest strengths is our bullpen.
And so is the Phillies.
To be able to situationally mix and match.
The Phillies look at their bullpen.
Phillies have a great.
There's 4 guys that they use consistently with an ERA under 2, and
Yep.
one of the guys above 2 is Jose Alvarado, who you trust.
The thing to remember with the Brewers, too, you saw it in that series, they do the opener. So
That's a good point.
They've had guys throw like 1 inning, and then they'll have a starter go like 6 after that. So that'll skew the numbers for them a little bit.
That's a great point, Connor. But it's amazing. I mean,
Their starting pitchers, by the way, have to hate that.
I don't know.
No, they have to.
they're in first place, so they're doing.
No, but
why
it
do they have to hit pretty well?
definitely can hurt their numbers though, as far as when they get to arbitration, when they get to things, because wins and losses still matter in arbitration cases.
Yeah,
It's
but if
still
you're the
something
first
that's brought
pitcher,
up.
if you have to pitch 5 innings to
Right.
qualify for a win,
Right.
If the opener goes 1 inning, and then you as the starting pitcher only throw 3, but you're in line for a win, you get the
Yeah.
win. So it might still benefit for them.
It all
Who-
comes out in the wash.
Right, exactly. Who knows? But I saw the stat yesterday. I thought it was amazing for multiple reasons. The Phillies starting pitching has been freaking dominant, right?
Amazing.
That's the first thing that came out to me. Number 2, to your point, the Rob Thompson thing, letting guys go, and I wonder, could be an organizational philosophy change. And number 3, holy hell, baseball's changed a lot.
It has.
You think about back in the day, I'm not talking about Grover Cleveland Alexander throwing 4 straight days of complete game outings. I'm saying 2011 where Cliff Lee led the league in complete games with like 10. I mean, there's guys that aren't even, there's teams that aren't, I guarantee you the Brewers, they're at 2 right now. They might not even reach
Double digits.
15. I would say 15, but
They may not hit double
there's
digits.
still 100 games left.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's just the way baseball's changed. I don't know if it's for better or for worse.
No, it's for worse.
You don't know that.
Yeah.
You don't know
It's
that.
for worse on John Kincaid's preference of how the game should be played.
Right, but you
Exactly.
don't know that.
It's for the worse.
You don't know that.
I
You don't know that. You can't tell me that. I don't know what the data is. The
Our
teams that
pitch-
have won the
how
World
about
Series
this?
the last couple of years, how many starting
How about this?
pitchers
I'll-
pitched X amount of innings?
I'll give you another one from SI, which I thought was out of business, but I guess it's not.
They have Chat GPTs writing for them.
How about like triple? How about like triple the arm injuries to pitchers from 15? I'm trying to do the math. From 17 years ago, triple.
Okay, I'm not
pitchers.
necessarily
I don't
just
think it's
talking
good.
injuries. I'm talking about winning.
That's something though where it's not good for baseball.
Well,
It's not good for baseball to have so many arms on the shelf all the time.
It's not a single status like correlation. You're looking at people throwing significantly harder.
Yeah.
You're looking at a better way to diagnose.
because they're being taught to throw to velo instead of taught to pitch.
And I
Right.
yeah, but
They're
that has
being
nothing.
taught-
That has nothing
that's
to do
a
with the
baseball
innings.
error. That's a
I
baseball
agree
error.
with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you, but that has nothing to do with the innings
There's
conversation.
just more to it.
Yeah, but I thought that was fascinating when I saw it yesterday. The Phillies with 20 outings by a starting pitcher
That's amazing.
have at least 7+ innings. The next closest the Braves with 16, and then it drops to 12. It's amazing. All right, what do we have on the text line today about our conversations that we have, Connor?
We have a bunch of people still checking in on the Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni relationship
Okay.
and everything going on
And
there.
we'll speak to Jeff McClain at 8:10 to get more on it.
So John from Devon checks in, and actually this is more on Hurts' performance, and he says, my argument in Hurts would be in 2020 to 2021, did you think he had a season like 21-22 in him? In 2022, 2023, did it look like he had that type of season in him again? The answer is no. 21 to 22 was the anomaly. Huge Eagles fan, but I have no faith in Hurts.
Oh, wow, no faith in Hurts.
Wow,
Okay.
I can't imagine.
Look, I said before last season, I wanted to once again make it clear that I did not think he would be the quarterback I saw in 2022. It was not Hurts hate. It was, I think it would be unfair to expect that level of play again. But I'm not as down as that guy. Like, I still think Jalen Hurts is a top 10 quarterback.
Okay, let me ask you this though: do you really think if a young quarterback comes out and it is, and in their third season as a third season in the NFL, second as a starter, they put up Jalen Hurts type numbers? Can you give me another young quarterback that would have done that you'd say it's unfair to think that they'll ever reach that level again?
Brock Purdy.
Carson Wentz.
That it's no, because
Carson Wentz
is injured.
he was a former
Yeah.
top 2 pick.
Right, exactly. Like I don't think that's
Brock
the
Purdy.
case.
I mean, because I'm sorry.
Brock Purdy exceeded the year before last year.
Okay. I'm
And
just
I
going
think
to
he
say
can
this.
absolutely-
Jalen Hurts, to your point.
Right.
And this is not me bashing Jalen Hurts. To what you just said, Jalen Hurts was not a can't-miss talent.
No, he wasn't. That is
Right?
correct.
So, like, C.J. Stroud was a top 2 pick.
All right.
I kind of expect him to continue to rise, right? Patrick Mahomes, he's a freak. That's a different conversation. Jalen Hurts was a second-round pick with third-round
Russell
grade.
Wilson was taken 30 picks past Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. And
Do you think, like,
I
did anybody
I
say?
think he is more of an anomaly.
But did anybody say about him it would be unfair to expect him what he did in his second full year as a starter?
I would
To not be able to repeat it?
I was not listening to Seattle Sports Talk
nobody
Radio.
said that. No, everybody said ascending player. He's great. He's unbelievable. Sky's the limit. They didn't know he was a kook. Like, they didn't realize that the entire defense couldn't stand being in the locker room.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I mean, there was problems.
The Legion of
you
Doom.
can't have my cell phone number.
Yeah, that was weird.
That's really
he's
weird.
He's a weird guy. But no, I mean, to your point, that's a fair point.
I mean, I think you're setting the bar too low of expectation as far as I think there should be higher expectations on Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
I think he should be expected to get back to 2022. That's absolutely in the next few years. I better see that, or they're going to have a problem because there isn't a quarterback in the NFL who's got a better place setting in front of him than Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I think that's
Better
I
happen.
think that's accurate.
I want more expectations on his shoulder, especially when he's going to do that to his head coach.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
especially when he's going to act like that to his head coach. I want to see him put up. Let's
And
go.
we'll let you know exactly what John means by that. We'll play the clip coming up again next. Jalen Hurts' answer, or lack thereof, when it came to a question about Nick Sirianni. And we will speak to Jeff McClain about it coming up at 8:10. He was the one that told me and then us again when the morning show started that the relationship between Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni needs to be nurtured. It doesn't sound like it got much better based off of a lack of answer in the press conference. So we'll get more from Jeff McClain coming up at 8:10, but more of your reaction coming your way next. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Ricky Batalico.
When Nick Castellanos is starting.
the Fanatic. Jeff McClain will be joining us coming up at 8:10. Today's headlines with Connor Thomas coming up at 8:05. I want to get to more of your texts and calls this segment. You can text or call in the show, 610-632-0975. When it comes to the relationship with Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni, it didn't sound much better during his press conference the other day. We'll play it for you again in a second. But I want to know from you, do you believe that the head coach-quarterback relationship matters to you? Remember, it's Kellen Moore's offense. It's like
most certainly
when it comes to the offense, when it comes to the play calling, it's Hurts and Moore. Like, they will probably be tighter, and Hurts and the quarterback coach will be tighter than Hurts and Sirianni on a game day basis. But Nick Sirianni is still the head coach.
We stay out of the way.
But it still matters. Head coach still matters.
No, it absolutely does.
So do you believe the head coach to quarterback relationship matters? And if you believe that it does, and oh, by the way, you should, are you concerned that doesn't seem like it's gotten much better? Here was Jalen Hurts last week. He was asked about Nick Sirianni, and here's him not really answering.
What have you noticed about, Nick being open-minded to change up the offense like he has? I mean, what's that say about him?
I mean, it's a great question. I don't know that I know the answer to it.
Well, what have you seen? What have you seen from him as far as doing that?
I think he's just, he's been great, and the messages he's delivering to the team. He's trying to be very intentional in what he's saying, and yeah.
Yeah.
I swear to you, that it does get worse the more you hear it.
So at 8:10, we'll ask Jeff McClain, the guy that's inside the locker room every single day, hey, Jeff, is the relationship any better? Like, that's what we're going to talk about with Jeff McClain coming up at 8:10. And if he says, oh, no, it's fine, well, then we'll do a new show. The last
if he says
hour and a half.
I don't believe we will get that answer.
I don't believe so either. But he could tell us that we're making too much of it. That could be something.
And the thing is, in transparency, we both want that. If it's the case,
Absolutely.
I want to hear it from Jeff McClain to say, stop. You guys can stop. You guys can stop that. It's not that big a deal.
I want my football team to be good, damn it. Like, that's what I want, okay? The biggest misnomer. You guys like it when they lose.
No.
Incorrect.
No.
Let's go to Keith in North Philly. Keith, you're on 97.5, The Fanatic.
And then it all cleaned up. Jordan,
Yo, Keith.
What's up, Keith?
Yes. Hey, how you doing?
Hi,
Good,
how
man.
are you?
I'm doing good. Sorry, at work.
It's all right, buddy.
Tell everyone we said hello, okay?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, Jalen Hurts. Now, to answer your first question, I don't think the head coach quarterback relationship is as important as you were saying, the head coach quarterback coach and the quarterback coach and the quarterback offensive coordinator. I think that's more important than the head coach, but I think it's still important.
It's still important.
It's still important, but
it doesn't not matter. But I agree. Like, he's going to be tighter with Kellen Moore and the quarterback's coach than he will be with Nick Sirianni. But he's still the head coach and he's still the franchise quarterback. So they're still going to have meetings every single week. They're still going to sit down in the film room. They're still going to be talking almost on a daily basis, I would imagine. And if the relationship's not there, that's kind of concerning.
It can be. And really quick on my other point, before you guys got to go, on my other point, Jalen Hurts, I think he's going to be fine this season. I think he's going to be great. Last season, and nobody said this, but it's just my personal opinion, he got a big contract and a signing bonus before last season.
So what's that mean?
Hurts, he got better every season since he's played football. I just think he took a break, spent some money, and he didn't work as hard as he usually does in the off season.
So shouldn't we rip him for that?
I guess you could rip him for it.
I mean, you should. Like, if that's what you believe, then you shouldn't be okay with that.
No, I'm not okay with it, but I believe, hey, it happens. He's human.
Well, I'm going to tell you this, is that to that thing, and thanks, Keith.
Thanks for the call,
Is
Keith.
the idea is that he worked out with Tom House out in California the year before his almost MVP season. And I saw numerous quarterbacks that did go work with Tom House that then ended up having the same relative success. Last offseason, he did a slight refresher course with Tom House. He didn't do the program. He went and just did like a little tune-up that was like a pop-in, pop-out.
Okay. And
obviously, the performance wasn't as good.
Well, then if that's the case, then he should be
criticized
criticized
No,
for
because
that.
some quarterbacks don't do any of that in the off season. But the thing is, when you have that kind of success, I just worry that it led to an almost MVP season. He got the contract, and he said, I got this. I got this. I'm fine. I got this. And then it backfired.
All right, what do we have on the text line there, Connor?
So real quick, Tony Dadbod from Baltimore checks in. And he says if Connor's the crazy one, it's simply because he has to try and keep up with you guys, you knuckleheads in there.
Well,
so,
that is the truth.
That is
Who
accurate.
that?
but he does say he loves the show.
He's from what is his?
Tony
was it?
Dadbod from Baltimore.
Tony, I'll be at the Orioles Phillies game this weekend on Saturday. Come on by and see us.
Now
Okay.
on to the actual content. Blaine from Kentucky says the relationship between Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni is definitely important. You're talking about the most important player on your team and your head coach. I'm concerned, though, if Hurts is in contention with Nick, does he allow that to affect his attitude this season?
Say that one more time.
The relationship between Hurts and Sirianni is definitely important. You're talking about the most important player on your team and your head coach.
Yes,
I am concerned, though, if Hurts is in contention with Nick, does he allow that to affect his attitude this season?
I could see it. No, I don't think that's outrageous at all.
I can see it, but then again, like, how many times have we talked about Hurts on the sideline?
Mopey.
Not only mopey, just zero emotion.
Well, I don't have a problem with zero emotion. I do have a problem with mopey. And I do have a problem with, in 2022, when he would deal with Brian Johnson on the sideline. And last year, he sat on a bench and stared out into space.
Yeah, and I did see happy Jalen Hurts 2 years ago.
Correct.
Right.
We saw him laughing, joking, everything.
We didn't see that
He wasn't
last year.
happy last year.
It's an interesting point. All right, so here's the deal. Jeff McClain joins us coming up next segment at 8:10.
Yep.
We will get more on the Hurts and Sirianni relationship. We will ask him how much it matters.
He may smack us down.
He might, and that would be a beautiful thing for Eagles fandom. And then we will have to pivot, and we'll have to find other topics to talk about during the next hour and a half of the show. But Jeff McClain joins us coming up at 8:10 to discuss what we've been talking about today. And at 8:05 before Jeff, it's today's headlines with Connor Thomas. Coming your way next, it's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Phillies face the Reds.
joins us at 8:10 to talk about our Jalen Hurts discussion. By the way, I hope you have a safe trip into work.
Love that.
Can't forget that one. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to talking to Jeff, see if we are off base with what we've been talking about, whether or not the relationship between Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni still has not been nurtured. Does it need to be nurtured? How important is their relationship? We'll get those answers from Jeff McClain coming up at 8:10. And before that, we'll have today's headlines with Connor Thomas at 8:05. But I just saw a tweet during the break that I found pretty interesting.
What's that?
And this could be a conversation for another day, or it could be a conversation for later on in the show. But I saw something interesting from Twitter's handle is @champ_lion.
Okay.
Follow him. It's a viral tweet. All right. He's complaining about J.J. Redick doing the analysis of the NBA Finals. He said J.J. Redick is on the mic talking about some high quadrant ISOs. All I want to hear is Kyrie said, "May I have this dance? Can someone please give this nerd a head coaching job already?" And then people were crushing him on Twitter, and he said, "Some people saying I hate the game for this. No, I want to be entertained. JJ is perfect for pre- and post-game stuff like Tim Legler. During the game, we need entertainment and some education."
I don't think he's good.
JJ Redick?
I think JJ Redick is very good at the analysis part of it.
Well, that's his job.
But not during a game.
It
is so freaking dry and so smug. And he's talking, more importantly, he is talking to a segment of an audience watching that game that I would tell you some of the stuff he gets into, he is in the weeds. He's into stuff that 25% of the audience is really understanding, instead of making it a more general educational thing.
The role of the color analyst is to almost talk, I don't want to say dumb it down.
You got to talk to the
offensive.
largest portion of the audience that you can.
Interesting. And be entertaining.
Is Tony Romo can talk he can talk X's and O's at a level that would just be crazy. Tony Romo burst onto the scene being folksy.
Right.
And also telling you, I think they're running the ball here. I think you're going to see a run right up the middle here. See this? And then they'd go to the telestrator and show you. And it wasn't outlandish to be able to figure out, understand what he did.
I think every color analyst could have done that. I think Romo was just the first to kind of do it.
Because I think J.J. Redick wants you to know
that he knows
how
basketball.
Smart he is. Let me tell you how much I know ball.
Well, I have a personal disdain for J.J. Redick, too. So I want to say, forget that it's J.J. Redick for a second.
Okay.
Do you agree with the sentiment from that tweet? I saw Connor nodding his head in there.
Absolutely.
That it almost needs to be
dumbed down,
but more entertainment?
Yeah, dude, 100%.
See, I watch a lot of games volume low or on mute. I really do. I just watch the game. I'm not.
You really don't listen to it.
You bring up the broadcasts a lot, and I go, all right, I missed it. And I appreciate that you tell, because there are stories too. I should, from a content standpoint, probably listen to what they're saying. Like the Bryce Harper hustling thing that we had 2 weeks ago. You said that McCarthy brought up. I didn't even hear him say it. I just saw it happen.
He brought it up in real time as it happened.
And as you and I texted about it.
And it is so to me, though, I think I worry too much about it. That I think there's a delicate balance between where I'm at listening to a game and everything compared to you. But I do believe color analysts, it's not meant to be. You're not teaching a doctorate class in basketball.
That's interesting.
You're losing. You have fringe viewers when it gets like the finals. You have people who are marginal fans, and when you start getting in the weeds of all these terminology and everything,
right,
you lose people.
All right, we'll couch this, and we'll either later today or maybe even later this week. It could be tomorrow. I mean, it's June, baby, right? Somebody already asked me, why are we talking about Jalen Hurts so much?
It's June.
It's June. That's why. It's time now for today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
What up, Connor?
Doesn't matter what month it is. I'm still bringing the heat.
Damn right you are.
And we got some interesting stuff here. I want to know how petty you guys are. We got a little
I'm
NBA
basically
beef.
Tom Petty.
Well, we'll see, because this is, I don't know. I think it's a bridge too far. We'll see what you guys think. We got a bit of beef between Perk and LeBron. Kendrick Perkins was on First Take complaining about how LeBron unfollowed him on Twitter, apparently. Take a listen.
Imagine unfollowing me on Twitter, but you still got to wake up and watch me on TV every day, because I ain't going nowhere anytime soon. That's number one. Number two, I think LeBron James got sensitive over the last couple weeks because I've been calling him out or have to speak on certain things that he may disagree with.
And that's the truth. He called him out on Bronny.
Now, the Bron Perk thing aside, because I don't really care about those two guys beefing, how much does it bother you if you notice someone that you normally interact with unfollows you on social media? Is that something that you would notice, and is that something that you would care about?
No. I
wouldn't notice. I didn't. You know what, though? It was pointed out to me. We had this discussion last week. Somebody who's a peer that I very much had known unfollowed him. And it was funny because I was like, I don't know what what happened. Right. But it is. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know who. I don't really know who follows him.
I don't really track that stuff.
If you knew, would it bother you?
If it was somebody that I cared about, yes.
So if I unfollowed you, Andrew, would it bother you?
No. Because I talk to you on a daily basis.
That's the answer I figured.
I see you. We play basketball every Wednesday night. I know we are friends, so I wouldn't
the mute button.
Oh my God, he followed me or unfollowed me. We're not friends anymore.
People can't see mute, right?
No,
they can't tell who you mute.
Yeah, no.
There's people I follow that I mute.
That's the smart way to do it.
Because I can't take the politics.
Yeah.
I can't take that they have to tell me every single thought that's in their head every single day about every single thing. So I'll mute people.
Yeah. I probably would not have that reaction as Kendrick Perkins in real life. But from a content standpoint,
oh, absolutely, we're beefing with LeBron.
Yeah. If you unfollowed me today, I would make a whole segment of it.
Yeah,
for content purposes. But real life, nah.
Yeah, all he said was. By the way,
you know me. I use Twitter for work.
Yeah, I mean, that's all it really is.
Would you give a damn about Twitter? If tomorrow you became a carpenter, I don't think you'd ever tweet again.
What did I tell you? I've said this a million times. This thing would go away.
I hate the phone.
iPhone. No, I would go flip phone.
I hate it.
I don't care. Dude, it's not even an old thing.
Phone.
It's just I don't. You know me. I don't answer a text for 7 hours.
Yeah, you're bad on it.
Yeah, you are.
But that's me. I know I am weird when it comes to that stuff.
Let's not get caught up in the weeds here. Let's get to something. You guys need to hear this. We had a big moment for a Philadelphia sports legend, and I guarantee you guys don't even know this happened. Take a listen to this from the CFL.
1st and 10, Argo 50.
I saw it.
Adams has time. Big look, open receiver, and it's Travis Fulgham with his first CFL touchdown.
Big for the BC Lions. Travis Fulgham scores his first touchdown. And my question to you guys is, what is your favorite moment you can remember, or a personal one, where you realized, oh, wait, that dude is there now? Because we've all had them, where it's you haven't heard about someone for a couple years, and then you're just they pop up out of nowhere. You see a random highlight. You might have a weird
I'll give you a great one.
I knew you'd have one.
Who's that?
Baron Davis played for the Delaware Bluecoats.
Okay.
Former all-star guard in the NBA with the Warriors back in the day, who was a cheat code in NBA 2K, played for the Delaware Bluecoats. And I remember he made a play, and it went viral on ESPN, and I was like, wait a minute. That's not the Baron Davis, is it? And it was Baron Davis. And didn't Isaiah Thomas play for the Bluecoats? No. Yeah, sorry, another small point guard. The guy that beat Andre Iguodala in the slam dunk contest. It was Rob the Iguodala. Nate Robinson. He played for the Bluecoats too.
Henry Burris, the former Temple quarterback, becoming a huge star in the CFL. And one day I'm hearing them talk Canadian Football League, and I'm going, wait a minute. Henry Burris is in the Canadian Football League, and he was tearing it up. He's one of their legendary quarterbacks.
And then if he tried playing the NFL, it would be a bit of a fall off.
Crazy.
I went to an Albuquerque Isotopes game.
What?
A AAA affiliate of somebody. I don't even know who. I was just out on vacation visiting family. We go to a game, and all I hear from the announcer partway through the game, now batting for the Isotopes, right fielder Dominic Brown.
Yeah.
You're
I'm
kidding
oh my
me.
goodness. What are the chances? I had no idea.
And I'll tell a story while you call up Jeff McClain. When I was in Manioc, there was a channel 59 was Lehigh, a Lehigh channel.
69.
Thank you, 69. And there was a Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs game on.
Yeah.
And there was nothing else on TV. So I'm like, let me just check it out. I mean, it's the Phillies farm system. Don Brown was pitching against the Phillies. He tried transforming into a pitcher.
I didn't know that.
And, I don't think it lasted very long. But I randomly, what are the odds that I randomly put on a Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs game on cable TV, and Don Brown's pitching against them. Like, what are the odds?
And that you stayed with it how long?
I watched an inning. I went on. I was like, I got to see Don Brown pitch. He was throwing like 90-something. You know, I wanted to see it. All right, good job, Connor. That's today's headlines. We do it every single day at 8:05. But now we head to the Comcast Business Hotline. This could either derail the show or keep it going, John.
Well, it always
is
good when Jeff's with us, so it's good.
We head to the Comcast Business Hotline. Every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business help you move forward with what's next. From the Inquirer, Inquirer.com. Joins us every single Tuesday at this time, the great Jeff McClain. Jeffrey, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Hi, Jeff.
All right, Jeff, your name has been brought up often on the show today, not just because you are coming on, but there's been something that's been stuck on my brain that you have said twice to me, once to John, once when I was still doing middays, and then once this show started, that the relationship between Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts needed to be nurtured. You didn't say it was dead, fractured, or anything. And then he had his press conference last week, Jalen Hurts did, and he was asked a question about Sirianni, and he couldn't really give an answer. And we might be making too much of it, but I want you, as the great reporter that you are, to tell us, where are we at the relationship between Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts now that we are through mandatory minicamp?
I mean, yeah, certainly when Jalen kind of failed to answer what was an open-ended question, kind of looking for really just for him to say anything positive about Nick and how he's approached and handled giving up his offense, it was definitely awkward, I felt at the time. But, you know, that's kind of been Jalen's MO to some extent with the way he's handled the press conferences. So this isn't the first time that he's kind of given an odd answer or a non-answer. Now, he was given another opportunity. He talked about Nick's messaging this offseason, and that was about it. So, yeah, I mean, I agree it was definitely a little awkward. But, you know, did a couple follow-ups and calls around, you know, like maybe that he misunderstood the question. I think to some extent it's being speculatory if we just go basically off that. He could have answered the question.
And that's
better.
what this is, Jeff, right? Like, we are speculating, and
yes.
I've made it clear multiple times on the show today that we are basing this off of a 30-second clip. But, Jeff, you said it. It's not the first time he's given an awkward answer. Here's the thing, Jeff. He's always given an answer, even if he's not answering the question. Like, he's got the fortune cookie sayings. He's got the Hallmark sayings. He always has something ready to go. And the ums and pregnant pauses and lip smacks and the chuckle, like, there wasn't much for it. Like, he could have easily said, yeah, thanks, you know, Nick's doing a great job. Like, it really wasn't that hard.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. And look, you know, a couple things I know about Jalen is that one, he's very intentional in everything he does, right? We've kind of learned that about him after 4 years being around him. And then, you know, coming from the Nick Saban school and having his father coached him is like, you know, don't give him anything on the podium is typically what how he tries to approach these interviews, these press conferences. And I think to some extent he, you know, just by not answering something now, he's given and kind of not the best time because now you have six weeks of dead air to fill. You know, I mean, obviously I'm exaggerating.
No, somebody asked, why are you guys having this conversation in June? And I said, because it is June. Like,
yeah, but I think the bigger question is, you know, like, look, I mean, I asked him after the last game of the season, you know, about Nick's future and how, you know, certainly he was on this question about whether he'd be back, and he kind of like took an awkward turn there with his response as well. Kind of saved himself the following day at his locker stall and said, "Oh, he didn't realize that Nick was kind of on you know, there was question about whether he was going to be fired." Which, I mean, I don't really know if I find that to be true. And look, but the question is, you know, is what's going on with Nick and Jalen, and you know how, you know, important is the head coach quarterback relationship. It is an important one, and I followed up. Nick was on after Jalen, and I followed up and asked him about that, especially now that they're not really spending as much time with each other. How are you going to, you know, nurture that, because it is an important one. And you know, Nick talked about how he's got to have a relationship with every player, but certainly that's an important one, and he's just got to be a little more, give a little more effort in terms of finding times to meet with Jalen. And then, but like, I mean, like, ultimately what matters is what it happens on Sundays. Is the relationship with that's going to be maybe most important this year is that between Kellen Moore, Doug Nussmeier, and Jalen Hurts, those relationships. And those are new ones for him, right? Coming from Brian Johnson, Alex Tanny, guys that he had worked for a while. Brian Johnson, who's known for a long while. That I'm kind of a little more interested in seeing how that happens. Can those guys give Jalen the necessary hard coaching and basically make the corrections that need to be made when he isn't performing well, but also get him to play at the level we saw him play in 2022. And, I think the expectation is that he will play closer to that with Kellen Moore's offense and with him playing calm plays. This is a guy that has a very strong track record versus Brian Johnson, who didn't really have much of one to go on.
Going under the hood before the 2022 season, he worked with Tom House out in California. Is Kellen Moore now his Tom House? And will they be doing some sort of intensive work one-on-one together aside from these sort of mini camps and training camp?
Well, he won't be able to. I mean, he can't do that.
But I mean, like, as far as sending him to somewhere where they're going, here's what I want you to work on. Here's what I want you working on.
Well, I assume that he's kind of evaded some of the questions about that. I assume that he did go to South Carolina to work with, it's really Adam Datos, really the guy that kind of runs the show down there in Southern California. And, he's done that the past several years. So, yeah, I mean, that's the mechanical work that typically has to be done when you can't go to the NovaCare complex. And they'll work a little bit on that stuff. You don't want to change too much when he comes in. So I think really what Kellen is more about is the scheme and knowing the plays and knowing your reads and where to go and how to handle the blitz, and that's where Kellen's going to be the guy that's going to be in his ear the most.
We're speaking to Jeff McClain on the Comcast Business Hotline. You talked about the relationship between Jeff McClain and Nussmeier and Jalen Hurts and Doug Nussmeier.
I don't know about Nussmeier and Jeff.
When did I go in NFL?
Yeah. Hey, look, you got good measurables, Jeff. We'll see. I mean, I believe that you could sling it.
I am the furthest from that.
But so I know that Sirianni is now going to have a different role as the head coach. He himself has talked about it, that he's going to be more involved with now defensive meetings. It's not just going to be strictly with the offense. It's not going to be maybe as hands-on with Jalen Hurts. Do you have a sense of what his day-to-day might look like during this upcoming season? Like, will he be in every single meeting with Jalen Hurts, or is he going to maybe take a step back from that as well?
Yeah, I mean, he has said as much, that he won't be in every offensive meeting, he won't be in every quarterback meeting. So, whereas last year he was, right, when it was his offense, and now it's not as much. And I had asked him at one point this offseason, I forget exactly when. It's just, look, he has final say. He's the head coach. Everything he's responsible for everything that happens on the field, or everything that every coach and every player does. But that being said, it's not his offense, right? I mean, there'll be some elements of it, but for the most part, and Jalen said with 95% of it, it's going to be new. So, I mean, look, he knows plays, he knows this, that, and the other thing, but he doesn't really know all the elements of what Kellen wants. So Kellen's going to run that show. And in terms of what he's going to be doing now, he's going to spread himself around a little more, right? Like you said, a little more the defensive side, maybe spend a little more time with guys, maybe the bottom of the roster that he hadn't been able to spend time with before. The game management is obviously a big part of what he's done on game days since he gave up offensive play calling. Maybe spend a little more time on that. There's plenty for the head coach to do. I think this narrative that Nick's just standing around doing nothing is just kind of ridiculous.
Do you think the narrative that some are spinning that Nick Sirianni threw people under the bus to keep his job is true?
I never even heard that.
I hadn't heard it either, but we have people who believe it at this radio station. That believe it. I don't believe it.
Who under the bus?
That Brian Johnson got thrown under the bus. A guy who got crickets from NFL teams when he was available. He was on the
there
street.
are people that believe he was the scapegoat.
That he was the scapegoat for last year.
Well, I think the bigger question is just, did Nick, was Nick the one who 100% made those decisions, which he has said that it was him, it was his decision to fire Brian Johnson. It was his decision to fire Sean Desai, or it was his decision to demote Desai for Matt Patricia and then fire him. I'm sure Jeffrey Lurie and Harry Roseman gave very much their opinions on what they thought should have happened. So
yes.
You could look at it. There's probably a lot of gray area and nuance to to that question. But ultimately, Nick has to take ownership for all this, right? I mean, that's what's happening here, and I think that's why a more legitimate question is, what's he got to do to be back in 2025, right? I mean, what's going to take this season for Jeffrey and Howie to be happy with the direction of the team? Or what's going to happen, let's say, if things get off to a slow start? I don't think that's going to be the case. I think this team is still solid. I think the roster is still strong. They have an easier schedule, at least on paper, than they did last year. The changes they made at the coordinator spot are good ones. I mean, I think that's the best you could have expected. Vic Fangio, guy's done it for 40 years. He's had great success in the league. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to run the scheme that they had been running 3 years prior. Kellen Moore, he's had top 5, top 10 offenses pretty much everywhere. It's been Dallas and Los Angeles, only 2 stops, but he's been very productive as an offensive play caller and schemer. These are on paper upgrades. So you would expect that this team won't play as poorly as it did in the final 7-8 games of the season.
Jeff, you're the man. We appreciate it as always. We'll keep on reading all your great work in the Inquirer, and we'll talk to you again next week.
And listening.
Uncovering the birds.
Awesome. Yes. We got one more episode for this spring.
It's really good. Last one was amazing.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, we did something on Todd Harriman and Brent Selleck and how these guys have kind of how they dealt with the pain of playing the position and self-medicating, whether it was with weed or alcohol or pain. They went through it all. And before that, we did one on Stephen Means and the role that he had and the social justice protest that Malcolm Jenkins had led in 2016.
Well,
our final one will be on the training camp, so a little more of what we probably had discussed here, but a little more in depth of what happened during this spring.
Well, we can't wait for it, Jeff. We'll be following along. We appreciate you as always. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
He's Jeff McClain on the Comcast Business Hotline. All right, coming up next, we react to what McClain said because it doesn't make us feel much better, right? He didn't really say anything to shoot down what we've been talking about.
No, but we did get some clarity on some things.
We did, and we'll discuss that coming up next. Also, your first pair of Fan Fest tickets from Kincade Salciunas. Next, right here, 97.5 The Fanatic. 7:42 on Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. I want to thank everybody who's been a part of this ride so far. This is show number 62, John. 62 of Kincade and Salciunas.
Right on to Jason Kelsey.
Yes, good point.
And the year the Mets began. So just think about that.
The year the Mets began?
Yeah, that was the first year of the Mets.
Oh, how about that?
Did
I like
you not
Jason
know?
Kelsey more.
I like quite a bit more.
Yeah, a lot more.
But your favorite punching bag began in 62
Yes, okay,
also.
that's a good point. So here's the deal. At some point this hour, I'm not going to make you wait much longer. You just heard the clue. The clue is 62. Boom. At some point this hour, I will have you call the contest line to win the first pair of FanFest tickets given out by the Kincade and Salciunas program.
I love it.
It was announced yesterday that FanFest will be returning for its 11th year. Saturday, September 28th, courtesy of our friends at FanDuel. It's the biggest party of the year for Philadelphia sports fans, all the Fanatic hosts, celebrity guests, Philly sports legends, activities, games, prizes, and much more. Go to 975thefanatic.com for all the details, including info for our online ticket rate. So at some point this hour, I will have you call the contest line. Tell Brendan Gunn the answer of the clue that we just gave you, right? I mean, I just gave you the answer. I didn't give you a clue. I gave you the answer. And you'll win a pair of FanFest tickets for the big event on Saturday, September 28th. It was announced yesterday during the best show ever. And Haley, who runs our YouTube, told us to let you know that there is a QR code on our YouTube feed. If you need more information on FanFest, when it is, what's it all about, if you haven't been to one yet, I don't know where you've been, but you can get all the info there. And right now, because it was just announced yesterday, it's pretty bare. It shows photos from previous FanFests and what else we have coming up. But that will get updated as the days go on. We will tell you what events are coming, special guests, all that kind of stuff. So make sure you follow that QR code on our YouTube feed.
Got a lot of buzz yesterday. Tyron let the cat out of the bag, and
yeah.
People were all over it.
Absolutely, yeah. So people are fired up, and I'm fired up, and I can't wait for it. Year 11 of FanFest. All right, so Jeff McClain was just on with us, and he didn't really shoot down what we've been talking about, which doesn't make me feel better, right? Because we were hoping as Eagles fans for him to say, no, everything's good, don't worry about it. Now, he did say Hurts will be closer with Nussmeier and Kellen Moore, which we expected.
That
right?
it made me feel better that at least he gave us he laid out the power tree.
Right.
That it's he's got to do he's going to deal with Kellen Moore and Nussmeier before he ever really has to deal with Nick.
Right, which is a good thing when it seems like the relationship is not great.
And then they can work on that. It becomes much less critical. I actually felt better hearing his answer.
You did?
Yes.
See, I don't feel much better because it's still the head coach. That's my biggest issue.
I know, but it laid out to me that Kellen Moore is large and in charge, and that makes me smile.
It makes me happy about the offense for sure.
I told you, I am. If Kellen Moore falls flat in his face here, I'm going to look so stupid because I am honestly. I am Kellen Moored up.
Well, you're not dealing with Jeff. Jeff was talking about his success in Dallas and with the Chargers.
I love what he does. And more importantly, there are some consistencies over the entire time he's been an offensive coordinator. Like scheming guys open. He's the best. He is the best at it since he started calling plays.
You know, I'd be curious. Do you have like last year's totals?
I can get those.
I'd be curious to find out where the Eagles were as a team last year because it seemed so difficult.
To complete passes,
to get guys open, to get first downs.
He creates his offensive create yards after the catch.
Yeah, I mean they need that.
It's what it's
you
about.
Have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, who should be able to do a lot of stuff in space, and they were unable to do that last year because the offense. And by the way, also red zone efficiency is a big deal because the Eagles they were horrible at it last year, unless it was tush push.
Like I saw Bet Online. Jimmy Shapiro sent it on yesterday that right now A.J. Brown is 10-1 to lead the league in receiving.
Okay.
I think that'd be worth putting down $20.
I don't think it's going to happen, but it's also because you have Devontae Smith. Right, because there's so much.
20-1, which is funny. They have two guys that are in towards the top of the rankings. It's
interesting.
That could lead it in. By the way, the passing for Jalen Hurts to lead his passing is 25-1. Way down below some other guys.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
I'm really I don't make much of that. I'm not surprised that it's 25-1 because they have Saquon Barkley.
Right.
Jalen Hurts does use his legs. There is also, let's face it, the legitimate threat that he might miss time at some point because he is a mobile quarterback. He's probably going to miss a game or two, and
hopefully
they don't change the odds because of a guy missing a game.
Well, maybe with Saquon Barkley, you don't need to push on every 3rd and 1.
That'd be nice.
Like that to me would be great. You've got the big back, use him.
Yeah,
you're at the goal line. It's 1st and goal from the 2. Use him.
Absolutely.
And that might be swinging him out and or just using him as a distraction to create some space for Dallas Goedert and everything.
Yeah.
One thing I know too is Dallas Goedert should love the arrival of Kellen Moore.
Yeah,
because Kellen Moore
does. The tight ends.
Kellen Moore loves throwing to the tight end in his offense, and I honestly think that Dallas Goedert has at times been ignored.
I think so too.
In this offense,
I think so too. Like I think there could be more from Dallas, and I don't think that's a shot at Dallas Goedert. I think it's just the way the offense has been run the last couple of years, and that's not even a shot at Jalen Hurts. I think he needs to be coached into throwing to Dallas Goedert. We've talked about Jalen Hurts not throwing at checkdowns. That he needs to be coached into that.
And I'm glad that we were able to get Jeff to clarify for the D train, Dylan McKinnon, that nobody at the NovaCare complex is saying that Brian Johnson was scapegoated. I've never heard that before. That was as good an answer as I've ever heard. Because I hadn't heard it either.
Yeah, I'm glad we got that answer.
Any game I attended, any media member I spoke to, did I ever hear, yeah, Brian Johnson was just scapegoated.
Can I just say, Brian Johnson sucked. He was so bad. He was so bad.
He was over his freaking skis.
Yes.
And the entire NFL had a chance to hire him this year. They could have said, wait a minute, this guy's getting no.
What did I tell? I think, 16 new We went through this last week.
Was it
12 or
12?
There's a lot of new offensive coordinators this year,
coordinators.
and he took a step back into offensive assistant or assistant something.
He's getting Dan Quinn's coffee and doing video.
He's not.
Come on.
He wasn't good at being an OC. So thank you for asking that question
I had to finally get to because, everything I'd heard was completely counter to that. The Brian Johnson becoming some martyr here is hilarious to me. I've never heard anybody standing up for him like that.
All right, I want to get more of your reaction on today's topics. It doesn't seem like the Hurts-Sirianni relationship has gotten much better. Even McClain said he could have answered that question a lot better.
Yes.
It was an open-ended question where he had every opportunity to throw some flowers toward Jalen Hurts or toward Nick Sirianni, and he never did. So does that concern you going into this season? McClain himself said the relationship between quarterback and coach, even though he said he'll be working closer with Nussmeier and Kellen Moore this year, he did say it is still very important for coach and quarterback to have a good relationship. So we ask you at 610-632-0975, do you believe that it matters, number one? Number two, if you believe that it matters and it doesn't seem like it's gotten much better, does that cause for concern going into another season? I know we have some more texts coming in. What do we got, Connor?
Yeah, so we actually have someone who agrees with kind of what I was saying when we first got into this topic about why I don't really care about it as much. Joe the Cynic checks in and says, I feel Sirianni has become completely neutered, so his relationship with Hurts I don't think makes a difference either positively or negatively. Stressing Hurts be on the same page with Kellen Moore is the most important factor.
Okay, they should be on the same page more than Hurts and Sirianni. That is accurate. But to say that Nick Sirianni has been neutered to the point where he doesn't matter almost anymore is wrong.
That's absurd.
He's the head coach of the football team.
That's absurd.
That still matters. Kellen Moore is not running the meetings for the team meetings. He's going to run offensive meetings. Yeah.
But he's going to run and he's going to run the offense.
But Nick Sirianni is
the
still
team leader
running the ship. All right? And if you don't trust your captain, you start losing faith. And Nick Sirianni is still the captain of the ship of the Philadelphia Eagles. So look, I agree with
that's taking it to a whole nother level.
Yes. I've said it. If the Eagles offense looks great and the Eagles play well this year, I'm giving credit to other people before I give credit to Nick Sirianni, whether that's fair or unfair. I personally know I'm going to do it.
After hearing Jeff, I don't think it's unfair.
Okay.
And I've said to you that I think that's a little unfair, but after hearing Jeff get into it more,
welcome to the fun side, man.
I don't think it's unfair.
All right, we continue to get more of your reaction, more of this Phillies thing as well that John pointed out or wants to know. Who is the dark horse
that you might have your eye on?
I want to get into that some more as well because the Phillies begin a series with the Red Sox. And also, coming up next, you sent me something when I was in Target that pissed me off. And it made me angry about one specific person. I'll tell you what next. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Around the Bases with Andrew Salciunas on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Phillies. Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic. Dude, Connor, you made me get the Crunch Berries.
Oh, did I?
So Stats
I'd make you do anything.
Stats Menard brings in food like that. He's like the nicest person in the world. And he brought in a bunch of these the mini to-go cups of Crunch Berries. And I know they've been in there, but until you grab one, I was like, all right, fine, I'll grab one. They're freaking delicious.
Well, I looked at one. I didn't take one. I put it back.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Oh, I took one.
Oh,
and
so
I am eating these.
Get crossed,
brother.
bro.
Like, I'm eating these. These are top tier. Like, the Crunch Berry is severely slept on. People always do it rips up the inside of my mouth. Like, no, it doesn't. Get a stronger mouth. Like, come on. Wow.
Okay.
Come on.
Jeez.
Since when, you think the people that fought in World War II were complaining about Crunch Berries? Like, come on, man.
The people, I can just.
Come on.
You are 60.
Yes,
I can just tell you this being raised by a POW of World War II.
Yeah, he wouldn't have complained about Crunch Berries.
If I ever did,
you get smacked upside the head.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's
just say.
Real quick, and we're going to get into food later on in the show because there was an awesome video from Tyreek Hill that just.
Yeah, but we'll
get into
spoil
it.
Yeah.
We'll get into it.
It is good.
Real quick, let's go because it's the first.
All right.
Let's go with the first caller that gets the answer correct on the contest line, 215-263-0975. What numbered show is this of Kincade and Salciunas? We made it very clear. Connor even gave a future Hall of Famer's number that played for the Philadelphia Eagles as late as last year.
Well, now you're really giving
Caller number one that gives the answer correct to Brendan Gunn will win the first pair of tickets handed out by Kincade and Salciunas for Fan Fest, which happens Saturday, September 28th at Xfinity Live. So call number one, 215-263-0975. Call number one does not get it right. Then call number two will get a shot, so on and so forth. So I was in Target yesterday. I was at a coffee at the house, which was a traumatic experience for me.
It was traumatic to have coffee at your house?
No, not have coffee. So
to not have it.
I had to go to Target to go get coffee.
Okay.
And I'm standing in the line because nobody can do self-checkout quickly enough, which is ridiculous to me.
Well, that's because they wait till they've checked out their whole order to get out their payment method.
So I'm looking at my email, and boom, there's an email from John Kincade. And it was an email about the most successful team via the NBA draft
of the last
10 years,
10
right?
years, yeah.
And who came in at number one, Johnny?
The Philadelphia 76ers.
Now, do you have the email up in front?
I do. I have it.
Can you give the qualifications?
It's from Betway.
Yes.
Betway analyzed all the NBA teams by players that were drafted to make an all-rookie team, an all-NBA team, and end-of-the-season award winners based on regular season stats. They use that methodology. The number one team drafting in the last 10 years in the NBA, the Philadelphia 76ers.
And you were surprised by it.
I was absolutely floored by it.
I told you I was not in the least bit surprised because of the qualifications.
Okay, because when you're saying you had to make an the amount of players that you drafted that made an all-rookie team, so you only have one chance to get that right. An all-NBA team, you have every year a chance to get that right, but probably not a rookie. Mm-hmm. And end-of-season award winners and regular season stat leaders by category. The Philadelphia 76ers blew away the field.
Yeah.
Only three teams by this metrics. It was a 0 to 5. Only three teams rated above a 3. The Memphis Grizzlies at 3.08, the Lakers at 3.47, and the Sixers at 3.86. They blew away the field.
Here's why I'm not surprised. Because Embiid's obviously Embiid. You did have some good years with Dario Saric.
Right.
And oh, by the way, I will remind all of you who dislike this man, Ben Simmons was not bad at basketball until he stopped caring about basketball.
Correct.
He was a 3-time All-Star. He was a Rookie of the Year. He probably made the All-Rookie team, I imagine.
I imagine he did.
So Ben Simmons gave you a lot of those statistics to make you that number one spot over the last 10 years.
Yet he's one of the biggest disasters.
Yeah, because he stopped caring about basketball.
Correct.
Because he got emotionally hurt because he was no longer the guy of the team. because things were going in Joel Embiid's direction. And there were a million things, other reasons why he no longer cared about the game of basketball, even though the game of basketball provided him everything that he has in his life right now, like that stupid clock suitcase briefcase that he had at the Met Gala.
Exactly.
But I'm not surprised by what you gave us.
I was absolutely floored. Now, I don't know where Connor landed on that one, but I was shocked because it hasn't been that great.
No, but it makes me more angry. I texted you this yesterday.
It should make you more angry.
It makes me more angry with Ben Simmons, even though people say, oh, he can't hurt you anymore. Don't worry, he's not a part.
Stop bringing him up.
No.
He's
the reason why your franchise got set back because of his own whatever mental stuff he's got going on, not caring about basketball anymore.
That's what it is. It is. I'm sorry to do that.
You pissed me off when I was at Target. That's supposed to be a joyous occasion, John.
I usually get a little pissed off waiting for people at self-checkout, too, that don't seem to know what they're doing.
Yeah, people suck every single time. Like, just get out of my way. All right, coming up next, we reset the show. By the way, congratulations to Matt in Delran, not Mike.
Not Matt.
Matt in Delran for winning our pair of FanFest tickets. The first pair of FanFest tickets given away from Kincade and Salciunas. All right, we reset the entire show. We get more of your texts and calls. Also, trying food for the first time. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Coming up this segment, a video that I saw yesterday on Twitter that I sent to our show here. Tyreek Hill tried something food-related for the first time in his life, whether or not you believe it.
Do you see people that didn't believe it?
Tried something for the first time in his life, and I have a topic that I want to base off of that, and I'm going to turn it into a digital content piece.
Oh, I like this.
Station-wide, okay?
Like this.
But we'll do that coming up in a few minutes. But I want to reset the show. I want to get more of your texts and calls, and I want Connor's input because we ran out of time. Connor's thoughts on the email that you sent us about the Sixers being the most successful team
Betway
drafted.
did the study.
Yes, over the last 10 years. But here's what we've talked about today. Jalen Hurts, we're still responding to that lack of response in that. Just do me a favor, Connor. Let's play it, and then I'll explain exactly where we're going at with this. Jalen Hurts last week was given another opportunity to throw Nick Sirianni a bone, and he didn't do that.
What have you noticed about, Nick being open-minded to change up the offense like he has? I mean, what's that say about him?
I mean, it's a great question. I don't know that I know the answer to it.
Well, what have you seen? What have you seen from him as far as doing that?
I think he's just, he's been great and, the messages he's delivering to the team. He's trying to be very intentional in what he's saying. And yeah.
So, did he have vinegar and salt chips?
I don't know,
right before he did that, because I was like, he was
I just
thirsty.
had the crunch berries, and I'm not even having that
You're
issue.
feeling that cloying a little bit.
Yeah, but I'm not thinking about what to say.
No, you don't.
He's thinking about what to say and clearly cannot come up with something to say about Nick Sirianni.
Something nice.
And we had Jeff McClain on, and Jeff said there's some thought that maybe he didn't understand the question, but it was very open-ended, and there were ways to answer the question, and he didn't answer it. It took him a while to at least say something about Nick Sirianni, and he really didn't say much at all. And as I keep on saying over and over again, I have heard Jalen Hurts answer a question by not answering a question. I have not really heard Jalen Hurts be speechless. And he was kind of close to that, the other day, last week, when he was asked that question and had a chance to throw a bone toward Nick Sirianni, and he didn't do it. So our question to start the show, and you can text in, call in, 610-632-0975, is whether or not you think the relationship between Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts really matters to the success of this football team. And if you think it does, and you hear that answer, and you don't hear him really give that ring of an endorsement of Nick Sirianni, does it cause concern for you going into this season?
I actually feel better about it when I heard it. I feel better about it hearing Jeff talk about the fact that I see now that there clearly is the pecking order that we think it's going to be. The collaboration thing is just chatter. This is Kellen Moore's offense.
But he's still the head coach, John.
I got you. But Kellen, you know what's not going to happen? I would almost guarantee it. It's 3rd and 2, and Nick Sirianni is overruling Kellen Moore in the play call. So that just makes me happy. Hearing that, I'm feeling very good about it.
Yeah, but even we said this earlier, like football is the only sport where like the messaging and the rah-rah speeches really matter.
No, they do. And for some players, I'm sure for some players it goes in one ear, out the other.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I have talked to enough players that have said how fired up they got before a big game or before something, and how this coach brings everybody together.
Yeah, and
I worry
Sirianni
about that. Yeah,
had that in year 1. He clearly had that in year 2 when they get to the Super Bowl. And I don't think he necessarily had it last year, or they wouldn't have fallen apart the way that they did.
No.
And then he looked clueless at times.
Nope.
And I imagine that rubs off on some of the players. So if the relationship is not great and that is something that concerns you, then I don't know, how confident do you feel going into the season? I still think they win 12, 13 games. Like I do. Like this is not me saying
you're just going on
this
talent.
is a 9-win team.
You're thinking talent is going to win it.
Yeah, and then Kellen Moore and all that kind of stuff. But if something ends up happening, let's say they do get off to a slow start, I mean, that could lead to more issues.
The one thing I don't want is, and I've said it to you before, I don't want to be the guy who will give Nick Sirianni no credit if this team turns out to be just a much better thing. I'm not going to do that.
I will.
I'm not.
I'll do it. Don't worry. I'll do it for you.
I'm not falling into that.
I'll do it for you.
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to be that guy. But I can tell you that I'm very. The more I hear Jeff McClain talk about it and take us behind the scenes, Andrew DiCecco after mini camps the other day, I feel much better about this upcoming season.
Good.
Than I did.
And I think a lot of people do. I think a lot of people are having the same thought that we both have, that last year was more of a blip.
Yes.
And that they'll be okay. But I do think that they have to get off to a hot start. And I think that a lot of things we ignore. We stop talking about Nick Sirianni a lot. Whether that's fair or unfair, because, again, he's in a no-win situation where if they lose, he's the first to go. If they win, he's not getting any of the credit. But maybe that's the best thing for the Eagles right now.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking, if they find a way to survive without Brian Johnson and his great offensive mind and everything, I'm gonna be shocked.
So,
if Kellen Moore can reach those levels.
So I appreciated you asking that question for Jeff McClain. And look, there's really not many people still holding on to Brian Johnson, I don't think. But you asked,
it's flat out, like nobody like.
Was Brian Johnson a scapegoat? Yes or no?
Last year, no, he's not, and that's bottom line.
Right.
And it isn't. And no one I've spoken to about it, and no one that, and even being down there is not like being around it at the end. I didn't get to go till the end of last season to be able to actually attend games, go to the press box, be able to go down to the locker room, everything. There's nobody saying that.
Right.
Like there's just nobody. Now, do I believe a part of it is Brian Johnson getting a raw deal? Yeah, I do. A part of it, sure.
Because Sirianni should have probably taken charge.
Absolutely.
And it looked like Brian Johnson was drowning out there, and he never threw the life raft. But here's the deal. He was the offensive coordinator.
There's nobody, like, all you hear is Devontae Smith, like, just loving the new offense.
Yeah.
Like, just gushing about it. The excitement of it.
Well,
you even hear Nick Sirianni do it.
You do, yeah. He himself, everything is advertised.
Well, everything is advertised, man. He comes in here, and it's like clockwork.
So our man Dylan McKinnon has checked in.
Dylan McTrollan has decided to check in.
My point that y'all missed.
Oh, yes, we all missed it. Went over our heads.
Is the real problem last year was Nick Sirianni. It was his offense, his playbook, his scheme. Brian had an incredible first name basis. Brian had an incredibly flawed playbook to call plays from. Also, I'm not the first person to say he was scapegoated. Nobody said you were the first person. You might be the only person that's still doing it.
And as Jeff McClain will tell you, as we've had other guests on the show, including like guys like Andrew DiCecco, they've never heard the
Now he did quote
scapegoated.
a tweet from Jeremy Fowler when he was on your program back in January. Quote, "There's some weird vibes out there. I just don't know that everybody on the staff is happy about everything that's gone down, especially with Brian Johnson, who's sort of caught in the middle."
I don't think
anybody was happy because they were losing.
How about this? We just went under staff changes in the past year here at the Fanatic.
Correct.
None of us were happy about it.
Nobody was happy.
You could have had that same quote about any one of us. None of us were happy about it. None of us were happy that we lost team members. None of us were happy that people lost their jobs. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
That is a quote that could be used anytime because people tend to like each other.
Yeah. That's
what it is.
That's pretty fair.
And I'm sure Brian Johnson's a good dude, by the way. And he seems like a good person. And good luck to him.
Yeah, good luck to him as the assistant in Washington and not an offensive coordinator.
He's doing the video stuff. He's doing all that stuff for Dan Quinn. And Coach Bro will put him to good use.
Yep, absolutely. All right, you can climb in 610-632-0975, phone line, text line. Connor, your response to that email that John sent us yesterday, over the last 10 years, the Sixers, in terms of the qualifications of Rookie of the Year, all-rookie team, all-NBA, statistical category leaders, the Sixers are the most successful drafting team. I am not surprised by it because of those qualifications.
I'm also not surprised by it because Matisse Thybulle made 2 all-defensive teams. But on top of that, no, I mean, the Sixers have been a really successful team at adding talent that's going to make all-star teams and win awards. Part of it has been fit, and I don't want to put all of that on Ben Simmons. Like, I'm not trying to defend him. He was as bad as he could have been as an individual. But I do think that part of the issue is that points towards the front office not doing their job outside of the draft. Like, you had so many players.
Like signing Tobias Harris to a max contract.
Exactly. Going out and getting the Al Horford deal. Like,
yep.
I know you got rid of that contract, but ultimately it says it had to be pretty hard to screw up having players drafted this talented and yet you've been so rough at bringing in players to match with those guys, you haven't been able to win anything.
Yeah. I mean, there's multiple things to point to.
So many things.
And look, they even had Markelle Fultz that didn't even really play. I mean, that was another first-round pick that could have.
And some of that is not their doing. And
no, if he played the way he was
advertised
advertised to play, they'd be even higher up on that list.
Oh my gosh!
Right, but thoracic outlet syndrome happened.
Dude, it's wild because it's partially luck.
Dude, I wrote on the show sheet, a lot of it's bad luck, man.
And the front office commentary, that's not like, oh, it's Elton Brand. Oh, it's Daryl Morey. Oh, it's Colangelo. It's like a combination of like 4 or 5
Brett
different
Brown,
people.
When he was the interim GM, he was the one that traded Bridges. It was his decision.
Frankly, it should not be possible that both of those things are true.
Tell me, take me to that day, by the way. Take me to that day. And by the way, congratulations to Andrew Salciunas. 10 years to the day he walked in the door at this place as an intern.
Thank you.
Today.
Congrats, buddy.
Which is really great. Take me back to the day after Brett Brown traded Mikal Bridges.
There were people that drank the water out of the palm of the Sixers' hands that believed it was a good deal.
What do you think the majority of people felt? Like, was there outrage?
I was outraged.
I guarantee you I knew you would be.
I think there were a lot of people that are upset because of the Villanova connection.
Right, exactly.
And he fit, but then I think people believed everything the Sixers did was the right decision. Even though Hinkie wasn't here anymore, people still believe that everything the Sixers do, there was
a method to it. Right.
And then when they start trying to compare Zaire Smith to Kawhi Leonard, I think people bought into it. I hated the trade not just because of Bridges. Zaire Smith to me was an undersized 3 and too slow to be a 2. I didn't think he was going to fit in the NBA, period. I really didn't. And this was me barely watching any Texas Tech basketball. Just his measurables. I did not like Zaire Smith. So I was outraged. There were people that were outraged because by the way, Mikal Bridges worked for the Sixers, right? There's a lot of reasons why to be outraged.
Well, just because of the reason being is that I wonder how much of the Bridges thing is revisionist history with the fan base.
I think a lot of it is revisionist history.
Okay.
But there were
they
people
get
that
the
were
2020 hindsight.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for
I think we've all realized that he would have been a perfect fit on any Sixers team that they've had. The Simmons Embiid era, the Horford era, current era, Harden era, every era of the Sixers, Mikal Bridges would have been a perfect fit.
And you are the perfect example of, to every single intern that walks in this building, they can look at you and say, "Look,
what intern?
Look what can happen. Look what can happen."
Yeah, dude, don't do it.
That's good. That's good.
Let's go to Jay in West Philly. Jay, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, brother?
Hi, Jay.
What's going on, y'all?
How you doing,
buddy?
I'm trying to figure out why are we still talking about this thing with Jalen Hurts, man. It was a question, and like John said, it was a bad question. You asking me about another man's thoughts? I'm not in his head. I don't know what he's thinking. Of course I don't. Like, how do you want me to answer
Jay,
that?
I hated the question, and I hear that it was people say it's an open-ended question. I don't believe that there's open-ended questions, but don't ask me to analyze what somebody else is feeling
what somebody else
or thinking.
I don't know what his thought process is with everything that's going on. I'm trying to get a new offense now.
Now, I want to make this clear because you're a big Jalen Hurts fan. This is not us ripping Jalen Hurts.
No, this is a good question.
I'm legitimately wondering, why?
Andrew,
what?
You don't want him here, so why?
I never said I don't want him here. I just don't think he's Patrick Mahomes.
No, I'm talking about Sirianni.
Oh yeah, I don't want him here. You're right.
So why are you worried about how his answer?
Because I want the football team to be good, Jay, and I think having a decent relationship between coach and quarterback needs to be good.
Hey, what is he gonna do? He's gonna be the CEO. He's gonna see everything. He's not dealing with him on day to day.
Yeah, and he was supposed to be the CEO last year too, and he couldn't do anything.
Yeah, it ain't had nothing to do with Jalen.
No, I know, but Jay,
whoa. 15 interceptions had a lot to do with Jalen.
No, he did have. But he didn't have as bad a year as he did. I mean, a lot of those interceptions were tip balls and all that.
It wasn't that great of a year, Jay.
It wasn't a great.
It was not a great year.
In 22, but everybody acting like he was Daniel Jones out there.
Yeah, he wasn't that.
He wasn't Daniel Jones. No.
Yeah,
this topic has been. This has not been anything to disrespect Jalen.
No,
it's just to talk about the relationship between coach and quarterback.
But you don't like everybody you deal with. I know y'all have bosses that y'all ain't like dealing with.
But Jay,
I
I'm going to
love
tell you,
all my bosses.
But I'm going to tell you this, Jay. When Jalen Hurts went against the coaching staff, went rogue, and decided to call his own play at the end of a game that ended up costing a bunch with his teammates, he didn't take responsibility with it. He had a microphone in front of his face. He had every opportunity to say, that's on me. He didn't. He hid from it. And then he left Nick Sirianni to clean up the mess and look like a buffoon for him.
Yeah.
I think that means, hey, that guy's got my back. Whether I like him, whether I think publicly he has my back, I think he should extend the favor.
I agree.
And it tells me a lot about Jalen Hurts right now in his maturity level as a leader that he doesn't.
And leadership has been something that has been brought up, not by us.
Right. It's been brought up by veterans.
And by people that are inside the locker room.
Correct.
And speak to other players.
So to me, that's it, is you can lead by example, and I think he's a great leader by example.
Absolutely.
The work ethic and everything like that.
But he's in a different position as the quarterback.
But you know what's another example? When you got the opportunity to take responsibility for your screw-up, your mess-up, and you don't do it behind a live mic, you won't take the responsibility, and you let your coach try to cover for you, that's bad. That's just bad.
Look.
You know what? That's bad.
But maybe the coach told him he'd take the bullet, but when A.J. Brown tells the truth,
then it was done.
Then Jalen has to say something.
And he's still, to this day, it's June 11th, and he still hasn't.
All right. So something more light the rest of the show. Light-hearted.
Okay.
And I'm going to do a content post on this. I already bugged a lot of people that we work with. I sent text messages to them because I want their answers as well. And B. Gunn and Haley, if you guys can type your answers on the board as well, I would appreciate it because I need those clicks, baby. Tyreek Hill, according to him, tried a donut for the first time in his life this week.
I don't find this hard to believe, and I asked you about it because, like, Liv would tell you she's never had a Coke.
Okay.
Because we don't drink soda in our house.
Yeah,
and
we don't either.
So from the time she was little, she never drank soda.
I'll be curious to see how long it takes for Cooper to try soda.
So people would go, you've never tried a Coke?
Right.
She's never tried a Coke.
But Tyreek Hill is, I don't know, has he reached 30 yet?
I think
kids?
so.
Who, kids?
29 or something?
Kids?
He's halfway there.
Tyreek halfway to the kids.
Tyreek turned 30 on March 1st.
Oh, okay.
So he's 30 years old, and he tried a donut for the first time in his life.
I know something else he's never tried either.
And I'm kind of jealous because a donut is a delicious item. So here is one of the curses of life. You try a lot of things when you're little, and you don't really get the full enjoyment because it's just food. Like, I am going to tell you right now what my answer would be. And I want answers.
Oh, you tell one item.
So an item that you've had in your life, but let's say in your adult years when you can appreciate things more, right? Like
you could go back and say, what was the first time you tasted?
Like your age right now.
Right.
You take a bite of this first thing for the first time in your life, and you get to actually experience taste buds, and you can actually talk about it like from an educated purpose, not just as a 2-year-old going, oh, me like. Like, no, I want you to actually talk about how much you like it. What would be that thing you wish you could experience for the first time today? And my answer is pizza. Like, I wish I could take a bite of pizza for the first time in my life right now.
I love pizza. I just love pizza so much. I was going to say, if it can't be pizza, it would have to be steak.
Steak. Okay.
Pizza, but pizza was also my answer. That's the answer I wrote down, too. Is that pizza? I had Joe's Pizza in Broomall, and I could still, that was my go-to as a kid.
Right.
In our family. And I can still see the orange and the yellow of the cheese and the sauce. Oh, man.
And pizza's not even my favorite food. Hamburgers are. But, like, I just wish.
Really?
I don't know, like, the Jersey Shore aspect. Maybe it's because it's summer. I don't know.
Like crappy boardwalk pizza?
Any pizza, dude.
I want real good pizza.
Man, bowling alley pizza's good. Connor, yours.
Oof, peanut butter cups.
Oh.
Like a Reese's peanut butter cup. Dude.
That's not bad.
All right, so send
That or Wendy's breakfast burrito.
That's tomorrow.
That's Thursday,
baby. Send some answers in on our text line. YouTube, you can call in as well. If you were right now to take a bite for the first time in your life of something, what would that be? You wish you could experience it for the first time at your age that you're at now and not when you're a kid and everything's wasted. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
We've got the Phils heading to Fenway. I'm Connor Thomas.
6:29 on Kincade and Salciunas.
Why did you stumble over that?
Because he gets in my ear saying I gotta hit the sponsor, but the sponsor was playing when you said it.
I don't know
You
what
got
kind
mine
of.
first if we're going to play this game, Salciunas.
But it was playing. Like, you hit your button.
I don't know what Tony Romo's doing in there today.
I'm wearing many hats.
Connor, you know that Colin Cowherd would be just appalled that you're wearing.
Well,
a
he's
hat
not a
backwards.
franchise quarterback. He's
Okay.
he's a
what
producer.
happens? You know why I go hat backwards? Because if I wear it forwards, it pokes into the microphone and it bothers the hell out of me.
I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah,
about,
so
man.
I
we
think
need
you
the
look,
standalone
Connor.
mic.
I think you look good, and the whole backward hats thing. I swear to you, I have no idea why people are appalled by it. Like why people
It's a
would
look.
be.
I have hats that are just backwards hats.
I don't understand though, like why people would be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm set off by that backward hat." Like it's just one of those things.
Well-
Now I have things that I will go, man.
I do
like,
kind of get it, though, because honestly, it's something that happens to some people where they're just dumb. And then they get annoyed at something other people do that doesn't affect anyone, and then it bothers them. So I do
You call him
understand.
backward dumb?
hat?
I'm saying that take is very dumb, and I'd be happy to debate that one any day. Of
Mike,
the
you
week.
know a guy that might know him pretty well.
Absolutely.
This backward hat thing,
I'll wear two backward hats, one on
like
top
socks
of the other.
with sandals. Socks with sandals. I see socks with sandals. Drives me nuts.
Used to do it in high school all the time.
I'm like, what
man.
the hell?
The slides.
The slides and
That
the
was
sandals.
a big. That was
And you know
us,
what?
us athletes did it, man.
Yeah,
in high
oh,
school.
Yeah, us athletes
Was rocking those this
I'll
weekend.
never forget.
Yeah.
I'll never forget where we were our radio station. There was this really popular place we'd roll over for happy hour after the station.
Okay.
And the pretty good scenery, fun stuff. And Dwayne Wade came in his, and this is a nice place. And Dwayne Wade came in his track pants and his shower shoes or slides and white socks.
And he says, "I'm Dwayne Wade, dude. I'll do whatever I want."
He's Dwayne Wade.
Dude,
coming
Adam
in.
Sandler walks around like he's homeless.
Adam Sandler looks homeless right now.
Yeah, and you know what? He's a millionaire. He can do whatever he wants, just like Dwayne Wade could do whatever he wants.
Yeah, look good.
You do you, man. Dress
It's a good
however way
look.
you want.
It was a good look.
All right, so one of the things that I want to get into, let me know if we have any texts coming in on this, Connor. And Haley, if you can send us some of the YouTube comments.
She has a few there.
She has, or I'm sorry.
Yeah, she sent them already.
I didn't
Plus,
look at my phone.
Haley and B. Gunn answered the question on the screen.
I know. I see. I'm going to get to
Which
it.
is
So
good.
Tyreek Hill tried a donut for the first time in his life. Like that's amazing.
And
to
people
me.
don't believe it. Like that he didn't. I can believe it.
I can believe it.
I can believe it.
You know, my parents didn't want me to do certain things when I was younger, right? So I can believe it. So Tyreek Hill at the age of 30 tried a donut for the first time in his life, and it made me think, man, I'm pretty jealous of that because I tried a donut when I was like 2, but I didn't get to really appreciate it. I just thought, oh, this has chocolate on it. This is delicious. Like now, as a 30-year-old, I would be able to talk about the donut and the texture of the donut and what makes the donut so delicious. So I would like to know if you could try something that you've already had before, but for the first time in your life at your current age, what would it be? I said pizza. You had pizza as well.
And then I went steak.
And you went steak. Connor,
Because
what was
pizza and
yours?
steak would be
A
fine with
Reese's
me.
cup.
A Reese's cup,
peanut butter
which is
cup.
a great answer. Haley,
And you go Reese's.
I go Reese's. I go Reese's,
whatever.
too.
Call it what you want. It's good.
Haley goes with the most overrated food item in the history of the world, lobster. Extremely overrated.
Overpriced.
Exactly.
I'll give you that.
Exactly. Lobster's good. Don't get me wrong. It is good. The way people talk about lobster is as if it's some delicacy,
Damn,
and
we
there's
get-
so many things better than lobster.
We got steak and lobsters picks on this show. I need to check the books. See what you guys are
do
making.
that.
My goodness.
That's why I went pizza. And John scoffed at cheap pizza.
No, I don't know.
I'll
No.
go frozen pizza from the grocery
No,
store.
I used to argue this with Mikey Miss. And I'm not talking garbage, thin. You could read the newspaper through Boardwalk pizza.
Love Boardwalk pizza.
Boardwalk
baby.
pizza's terrible.
Nah, you're terrible. And then Brendan Gunn goes with the buffalo chicken cheesesteak, which is an interesting answer.
Because since a chicken is not at steak, it always is interesting.
The cheese.
There's
Just
some-
let it.
You know what it is.
All right, so what do we have coming in on the YouTube feed that Haley sent over?
Oh, okay,
John?
so Haley sent a few over here from the YouTube feed. How about this? What would it be? Ice cream.
Okay, I thought about
Birds.
that.
Go Bird says ice cream.
I thought about that today. Like, imagine trying ice cream for the first time in your life at your current age.
Yeah.
Here's the issue, though. Brain freeze is a danger. You're not going to
Did
know
your
about
parents
it.
not teach you to hold the cold thing right to your head and it goes away?
No. Is that a thing?
Yes.
In what year?
If you have brain freeze,
You make
Connor.
it colder?
What?
You- if you have let's say you had a remember back in the day, I used to get them with Slurpees.
Okay.
A Slurpee from 7-Eleven. You hold it to your forehead and it makes it go away.
There is no way that works.
It does work.
I think it only works for you.
It does work. My brain feels empty. How about Scoot Koo says Lithuanian steamed potatoes and cabbage?
Yeah, damn right, brother.
That's pandering.
Doesn't sound good to me.
Pander to me. Look, that's why I like certain Like, I like Bryce Harper's pandering. Nick Sirianni, I don't like him as a coach, but pander all you want. I don't care. I'll be having that. I'll be literally eating that next in 2 weeks.
Eric Deshane says braised goat shins.
You might like it.
I don't think that's a real thing.
It could be.
It is good, though. And we appreciate
By the
our
way,
YouTube audience.
How to get rid of brain freeze from Johns Hopkins Medicine. Remove the cold food or drink from your mouth. Press your tongue or your thumb against the roof of your mouth, or drink warm water.
Or drink warm water.
Well, yeah,
I'm telling
sense.
you, I assure you, if you have brain freeze, right to the forehead, it'll be gone.
Okay, we're going to prove it. You're going to eat a popsicle in one bite, and then you can hold that to your head, and we'll see how long it lasts.
You know what's funny is Slurpees used to do it. That used to be the thing that would give me brain. I don't have brain freeze from anything else because I don't drink soda. So
okay.
So I think
That's
it's
fair.
a Slurpee back in the day would maybe do
Milkshakes will get me.
Yes, they
A
do.
milkshake
I
get
do.
you?
Because they're so good, you just want to keep going. And all of a sudden, your brain hurts.
I do like a good Slurpee, though.
All right, what else do we have
I've
on
heard
the text line there, Connor?
We have someone checking. Brian from New Jersey says Alfredo or vodka sauce would be the pick.
Dude, like the sauce in general.
Well,
I'll
guess,
rock that.
yeah.
Didn't Bob say the sort of similar answer?
He said the bolognese, pasta bolognese.
Okay.
I've been getting answers from our coworkers. I just want to save it for the clicks, baby. Like, come on, don't divulge too much information here.
That's the one
interesting,
free
too.
preview.
Yeah,
The thing is, though, is that I've had, like, if you have somebody's sauce or gravy, depending on where you're at, and it's awesome, like, that you'd love to taste that again.
Yeah.
Betty made barbecue sauce from scratch.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
My mom never used barbecue sauce from a bottle. She made her barbecue sauce from scratch all the time. Her barbecued ribs would have made you cry.
Yeah.
They're so good. And I wish I could taste them again.
Oh, then I'm sure that would be one of your answers.
That'd be one of the
then.
answers.
All right, give us one more on the text line there, Connor, and then I got to give you something where Garrett Stubbs is considered just like Shohei Ohtani.
That's true.
What do you got?
What
do you got on the text line?
Josh Sass, who's from our YouTube chat as well, checks in and says cheesecake for the first.
Oh, yeah, dude. I'm a big cheesecake guy. Oh, huge. Number one cake.
Number
cheesecake,
one?
Yeah, dude, number one cake, man.
You give me red velvet over that.
Dude, no, red velvet is trash.
I like the
Stop it. You don't believe that, you're just saying things.
Give me a good firm yellow cake with the white buttercream icing. Oh man.
I'll step on that. Give me a cheesecake, man. New York style, baby. Woo! Give me that cheesecake. All right.
What's your Mount Rushmore of cake?
Oh, well, I'm more of a pie man. I'm a pie guy.
You've said that.
Yeah, I go pie
Blueberry,
before cake, but a cheesecake, like, come on, man. That's a great answer by
I've
our
never
man.
been so excited to get to the Garrett Stubbs topic.
All right, so you sent us something. The Athletic ran an MLB player poll.
Correct. They do this every year, and some players choose to answer all the questions. Some players choose to answer just a few.
Right. And what were the ones that stood out to you the most?
The ones that I sent to you guys are the ones that stood out to me the most. Let me get it to you here. Who's the best player in baseball?
Ohtani, I imagine, got the most.
Yes.
I looked at it, but I forget. So
Ohtani got the most. Ronald Acuna Jr. got the second.
Okay.
And then the only other players that were even on the board, Ohtani got 46% of the vote.
Not surprised.
Yeah, I mean.
Acuna got 27% of the vote.
Okay.
Mookie Betts and Aaron Judge each got 9%.
Okay.
And then Mike Trout got 4%.
Because if he's healthy, he is.
Yeah, that's kind of the big.
Are you shocked Are you shocked Bryce Harper isn't ahead of Mike Trout or even with Judge and Mookie Betts by his peers?
No.
This is by his peers. His peers don't believe it.
No, and there's a reason why.
Why?
I think Bryce Harper is disrespected nationally.
Or not popular.
I don't know about popularity. They're talking about.
Well, they're saying who's the best in. Look, they're not going to vote for somebody they hate.
And oh, by the way, Shohei Ohtani gets 46% of the vote. That means there's only 54% left among all players in Major League Baseball.
And half of that was taken by Acuna.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
so,
also, Harper's not. He's a different kind of great. He's not a stat compile great. He has done it in his MVP years, but where he becomes great is when he gets into big moments, he always performs.
Yeah.
Who's the most overrated player in baseball?
I only know because you sent it.
Jazz Chisholm by a mile.
And here's why.
That's Andy's boy.
Here's why
By
I
a
think.
mile.
Here's why I think he gets it. As much as I like him, he should never have been on the cover of MLB The Show.
No.
He's
fair
not good
point.
enough.
And I think others
not good enough. And he was a cover athlete when Ohtani was in the league.
Okay, going solely on vibes, who do you want most on your team? One player blew away everybody. Like,
Who?
got the largest percentage of the vote in baseball.
I don't remember.
Mookie Betts.
Yeah, I can see
Makes
that.
sense.
Mookie Betts got 13% of the vote. Ohtani got 6%. Ronald Acuna.
But he doesn't speak English, and he needs an interpreter.
Nah, I don't get it. Ronald Acuna got 4.2%, tied with Bryce Harper.
Okay, so Harper's a vibes guy.
And I can a vibes guy. By the way, Garrett Stubbs did get 2.1% of the vote.
So Stubbs and Ohtani are in the same class.
They're
Love
very
it.
different. And then
What?
finally,
No, they're the
which team would you sign with if contracts, state taxes, and rosters were not a factor?
My first guess would be any team in Florida.
One team blew away everybody, and it's not one of those with a state tax. The Braves.
Interesting.
It was overwhelming, the Braves. Second was the Red Sox. Dodgers and the Rangers were next. Yankees and the Cubs were next. Padres were next before you get to the Phillies.
I guess geographically, where it's not like Miami's a million degrees in the summer.
Yeah,
and
bro,
that's,
like-
and that's
Yeah, but
where
so
you-
is it. Yeah.
I love
I'm
Philadelphia.
shocked that Atlanta was that much.
I love Philly. I'm not picking this weather. Like, I'm sorry.
Connor, I know you would like it, but I got to tell you, living 26 years in Atlanta, I don't miss one bit of that weather. Like this right now would be, it's hell from like May 1st to October 15th. It's hell. It's so hot.
It is interesting.
And they blew away everybody.
Yeah.
The Braves organization.
I'm
is
surprised the
one
Florida team didn't come first just because of the no state tax. Like that was because that's where NBA players want to go.
Right, I would think that.
That's what
but
I thought
they said
it would
take
be.
taxes out of it.
Oh, take taxes
It said
out
take
of it.
taxes
Okay.
out of it.
All right, interesting.
There you go.
All right, so coming up next, the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3, the 3 best minutes from today's show, followed by our crossover with one Bob Cooney. The midday. Oh, jeez.
What?
It is not the midday
No,
show.
it's middays with Bob Cooney.
Yes. It is Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Bob Cooney talking with the newsmakers.
If Jalen Hurts plays exceptionally.
is 9:47 on Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
We bond over that. The Wire.
The Wire. Big day for a lot of you people who like overrated television. Sopranos. I'm sorry.
You don't do that. Don't get
Final episode of The Sopranos aired today,
or
17
like 17 years ago or something.
Yeah. Better things have come out. It's one of the takes that I know I am very alone with.
No,
Better things have come out.
Yeah.
I know people love The Sopranos because it was the first of its kind.
You could love it.
Yeah. And people always say, well, it was the first of its kind. All right, things have gotten better. It's okay.
And it was amazing. But
yeah, I got through like 1.5 seasons. All right, we have our crossover with Bob Cooney coming up in a few minutes, but it's time now for the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3.
Now, the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3. Today's best.
Here's my question for you guys to start the show. Does it necessarily matter? Do you believe head coach quarterback relationship matters? And in this specific instance, because Kellen Moore is running this offense, right? Nick Sirianni's not running the offense. It is Kellen Moore's offense. So Jalen Hurts will probably be communicating with Kellen Moore more than Nick Sirianni. He'll be communicating with the quarterback's coach more than Nick Sirianni, as he did with Brian Johnson 2 years ago before he made the jump up to OC. I don't think Hurts and Sirianni necessarily need to have the same hand-in-hand relationship that they had when they first came into the league together. Hurts year one as a starter, Nick Sirianni year one as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. But it's still the head coach. It's still the franchise quarterback. It's still the guys that you see the most on a weekly basis. It's those two guys. They are the faces of the Philadelphia Eagles. Do you think it matters that their relationship is nurtured, as Jeff McClain has pointed out that it needs to be?
I guarantee that it needs to be nurtured, because every time that I hear Jalen Hurts speak, it needs to be nurtured, because he purposefully goes out of his way to not, to me, show grace or kindness to Nick Sirianni. And I think that is a problem, and I think that reflects far more on, to me, Jalen Hurts than it does Nick Sirianni. Because of the fact...
What if he has nothing nice to say? Why should he show grace?
First of all, what I have seen is multiple times when Nick Sirianni has fallen on the sword publicly for Jalen Hurts because he refused to stand up and take responsibility for his own actions.
Okay.
So to me, he owes him grace.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
That's a give and take. They don't have to like each other. But Nick Sirianni shows him the ultimate respect and stands up after an NFL game that Jalen Hurts blew for his teammates and A.J. Brown going rogue, and he takes the bullet for it publicly. From that point on, I would expect the very least that Jalen Hurts could do is give me some bullcrap answer.
Right.
To at least just do the same for Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni did it for you. Do it for him.
And that's why yesterday I kept on saying the worst part of that answer is the fact that there isn't an answer. From the Inquirer, Inquirer.com, joins us every single Tuesday at this time, the great Jeff McClain.
The relationship that's going to be maybe most important this year is that between Kellen Moore, Doug Nussmeier, and Jalen Hurts, those relationships. And those are new ones for him, right? Coming from Brian Johnson, Alex Tanny, guys that he's worked for a while, Brian Johnson, who's known for a long while. That, I'm kind of a little more interested in seeing how that happens. Can those guys give Jalen the necessary hard coaching and basically make the corrections that need to be made when he isn't performing well, but also get him to play at the level we saw him play in 2022.
What is Jalen Hurts' ceiling? When we're talking about prime, like when he said Hurts is in his prime, I was like, yeah, interesting. When he gets into his prime, what is his ceiling? So we've now seen 3 years as a starter of Jalen Hurts. Year one wasn't all that good. They had to go strictly to the run game.
What would you give him, a C?
Yeah, I was ready to look for other options. Hurts ends up balling out and finishes runner-up in MVP.
And he should have had it.
And he should have had it, especially because he missed the 2 games and they lose the 2 games that he doesn't play in, right? So he probably should have won MVP. He doesn't get it. He balls out in the playoffs. Best game of his life other than the fumbles in the Super Bowl. He outduels Patrick Mahomes. So if you want to say that's his ceiling, like he'll never be better than that, okay, fine. I just want to think moving forward. Because year 3, it went back down. It was kind of in between 21 and 22. What do you believe is the ceiling of Jalen Hurts? Like, what should we have expectations for? Because I think there's a lot of people that just expect him to get back to the 2022 form. You and I have talked about it. We both believe that he will come closer to 2022 than 21 and 23 next season.
I think 2022 is going to be close to. I would expect right now, if you told me, with the surrounding cast that the Eagles have created, Jalen Hurts can have 3, 4, 5 years of his career that are close to 2022. That doesn't mean go to the Super Bowl every one of those years.
Of course, yeah.
But it means his performance. I have no doubts that he can be that guy.
All right, that's the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3 best minutes from today's show. How about I make your day even happier? I was just told that we have another pair of Fan Fest tickets to give away. Johnny, what number? Let me guess, 7.
How about 7?
Call number 7 to the contest line, 215-263-0975 will win our second pair of FanFest tickets that we are giving away as Kincade and Salciunas. FanFest coming your way Saturday, September 28th at Xfinity Live, presented by our friends at FanDuel. Biggest party of the year for Philadelphia sports fans, and you'll be able to meet one Bob Cooney. Bobby, good morning.
What's up, boys?
How you doing,
Everything
Bob?
good?
Yeah, everything's good. How are you?
I'm doing great. No complaints whatsoever. Beautiful day driving in. Supposed
nice
to be
is
another
it?
great day. Yeah, love the summertime. My favorite time.
Absolutely. When are you going to make me your pasta bolognese?
Yeah, I have to do that sometime for you. You know what else I also tried as an adult for your question, and I loved was my mother. Now, I've eaten crabs since I was a little kid. Pick crabs because I have family in Baltimore. I will sit and pick crabs, and I go out crabbing an awful lot all day long. But my mother-in-law, for my first time ever, did the spaghetti and crabs.
Ooh,
I never had that until I was an adult. So that's another one that I absolutely love.
That wasn't necessarily the question.
I thought
So
you
maybe
said
this
the
might
question was
change your
something-
answer. No.
All right, what was your
What
question?
do you wish you could try for the first time now that you're an adult?
Now that you're an adult to
Right,
get that feeling.
because it was so good when you tried it as an adult.
Well, no. I had pizza when I was 2, but I wish right now I could try pizza for the first time.
You know what? Crabs. I would go with crabs.
Crabs, okay.
Yeah, I would. I
Isn't
would
it-
go with crabs.
I'm surprised. You have you do have patience, though.
I could sit.
Like, I can't
could do that all
do it.
day.
It's too much work.
all day long.
Like, way too
I'm
much
even
work.
to the point that when my kids get done picking them and they get up and say, all right, I'm done, I'll grab their plate and I'll re-pick what they've gone through because I know I'll find more meat that they didn't get to.
Last summer, because my dad has the crab trap down the shore, my dad and I sat down in his garage, and he just put the TV on. The last channel was on, was like an HBO channel, and the movie Heat just started with De Niro and Pacino and all them. We watched the whole movie just eating crabs and drinking beer.
Oh, it's nothing better.
Like
that's a
a
great-
2.5 hour. That's a 2.5 hour movie.
That's a great dad
Nothing
memory.
better.
Yeah,
That's
it was
a great
awesome.
dad memory.
We
Yeah.
just watched Heat, and talked and
Yeah.
ate crabs and drank beer. Man, it was
Yeah,
awesome.
I'll have to. So my brother-in-law has a boat down on an arm of the Chesapeake.
Nice.
And we don't drop lines. We do a trot line,
do you
1,500
really?
foot trot. We
Okay.
do it real. So we catch like a bushel of crabs. So, and then we steam them right after we catch them.
Oh yeah.
A newspaper.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Whole
yeah,
nine yards.
you have to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can't mess around without the newspaper.
So
what do you got on
all
the show
good.
today? Amy back?
Amy Fadula is back with us today, so that'll be cool. A lot of interesting talk when it comes to the Phillies because I'm not a stand pat kind of guy, Andrew, but I don't know what you should do with this Phillies team moving forward because
Interesting.
are you changing just for change or should you look to get better what you already have? So we'll look at different things like that. Trying to get Alo Abdelnaby to join us today to maybe talk a little bit about, I don't know, how do you build around this current team of Joel Embiid?
Yeah, of one person.
Yeah. So a whole lot of fun. Plus, I want to get Amy's reaction. We had a lot of reaction to the Caitlin Clark thing yesterday. I want to hear what Amy has to say on that. So a lot of fun today.
We'll
Do
be
you think
listening,
there's
Bobby.
a right answer? By the way, quickly.
No, I can see both answers.
Like, no,
If Bob Cooney was the GM, I'm putting the 12 best players on the floor, and Caitlin Clark, sorry, you don't make it. If I'm Bob Cooney businessman and I had to make money, then I'm saying, hey, Caitlin Clark, you're the most popular person in the sport right now. Yeah, I want you on the team.
Yeah.
So I
A
see
lot of
both
confidence.
sides.
It is. It's good. A lot of good discussion.
We'll be
That was
listening,
good
Bobby.
stuff. Hey, support
boys.
life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partner, David Auto Group, and make a donation today to the American Association for Cancer Research. You can do it at 975thefanatic.com/AACR because cancer research saved my life.
Back at it tomorrow. Not just one time, Johnny.
3 times.
Not just 2 times.
I'm
3
sort of a
Jeez,
I'm on
33
bar
times,
all the time, is what I believe.
It is a Wednesday tomorrow, which means it's a chefty day on Kincade and Salciunas. Everybody have a
yeah.